Alrighty, welcome to the Q1 2022 earnings call special episode 89 of Tokwa's Ask Us Anything. This has been an absolutely bonkers news week. Tesla has roundly beaten every company-compiled analyst consensus performance metrics as outlined in its Q1 2022 update document and follow-up earnings call held last Thursday morning. The key metrics Tesla reported were total revenue of $18.756 billion, beating analysts' expectations by $655 million. Gross profit of $5.46 billion, beating expectations by $743 million. Operating margin of 19.2%, one-third higher than analyst consensus. GAAP net income of $3.318 billion and GAAP earnings per share of $2.86, both about 55% higher than analyst expectations. Although Tesla's cash holding only increased incrementally by $306 million, Tesla has all but eliminated debt excluding vehicle and energy-related leases by repaying $2.1 billion, leaving only $88 million in debt outstanding. Tesla's Q1 earnings update document has revealed that it is strongly increasing utilization of LFP batteries in its products. The document stated, diversification of battery chemistries is critical for long-term capacity growth to better optimize our products for their various use cases and expand our supplier base. This is why nearly half of Tesla vehicles produced in Q1 were equipped with a lithium iron phosphate LFP battery containing no nickel or cobalt. Currently, LFP batteries are used in most of our standard range vehicle products, as well as commercial energy storage applications. At the follow-up earnings call, Elon Musk stated that, I think we'll probably see a shift. My guess is probably to 2/3 iron, 1/3 nickel, or something on that order. This is actually good because there's plenty of iron in the world. There's an insane amount of iron, but nickel, there's much less nickel and there's much less cobalt. Elon Musk then further reiterated his preference for LFP battery chemistry in a tweet in which he stated, I'd personally slightly opt for iron pack as it wants to be charged to 100%, whereas nickel prefers about 90%. Elon Musk has confirmed at the Q1 earnings call that Tesla's autonomous robotaxi will commence production in 2024. He further said, we're also working on a new vehicle that I alluded to at the Giga Texas opening, which is a dedicated robotaxi that's highly optimized for autonomy, meaning it would not have a steering wheel or pedals, and there are a number of innovations around it that I think are quite exciting, but it's trying to achieve the lowest, fully considered cost per kilometre, accounting for everything. I think it's going to be a very powerful product. In spite of strong headwinds affecting production at Giga Shanghai, Tesla's Zach Kirkhorn and Elon Musk have reiterated their belief that Tesla will produce at least 1.5 million cars this year. CFO Kirkhorn said during the Q1 earnings call that he believes that Tesla will grow car production by 50% or more. Elon Musk backed his CFO by saying, so as Zach said, we remain confident of a 50% growth in vehicle production in 2022 versus 21. I think we actually have a reasonable shot at a 60% increase over last year, so let's see. Musk explained how Tesla's new factories in Austin and Brandenburg will assist with Tesla's 2022 production. He stated, now with new factories the initial ramp always looks small but it grows exponentially, so I have very high confidence in the teams of both factories, and we expect to ramp those initially slowly, but like I said, growing exponentially with them achieving high volume by the end of this year. Countering this growth is the COVID-19 issues with Giga Shanghai, which Elon Musk explained, well, we did lose a lot of important days of production, and because there are sort of upstream supplier challenges where a lot of suppliers have lost many days of production. But Giga Shanghai is coming back with a vengeance. Elon Musk optimistically forecast that Giga Shanghai would probably produce a similar number of cars in this quarter as it did in Q1. He completed his bullish argument by saying, but then Q3 and Q4 will be substantially higher, so it seems likely that we'll be able to produce over 1.5 million cars this year. That's my best guess. Tesla's Senior Vice President of Powertrain and Energy Engineering, Andrew Baglino, has simultaneously poured cold water on the prospect of Tesla's passenger vehicles migrating to 800-volt battery architecture, while acknowledging that this architecture is a valid path for the larger Cybertruck and Tesla Semi. At the Q1 earnings call, Baglino stated, "For the smaller platform vehicles like Model 3 and Y, there are some wins and losses with 800 volts. Not everything is better. And so we look at that platform and we're not like ignoring the reality that you can go to a higher voltage, but there's nothing really encouraging us to do that on that platform. On bigger vehicles where you're talking about higher power from the charging side or higher power from the battery to the power electronics, or you need more torque, the current requirements go up. There's a little bit more semiconductor and actual conductor savings of going to the higher voltage, and so we do consider that for the Semi and Cybertruck. But for the Model 3 and Y platform, where we've got everything running, the benefit is questionably small." With the announcement of Tesla's stellar Q1 financial results, Elon Musk has unlocked 3 more 2018 CEO Performance Award tranches worth about US $23 billion. Although yet to be formally ratified by Tesla's board, these 3 tranches will entitle Musk to purchase 25.2 million Tesla shares at a discounted price of US $70.01 per share. Once executed, Elon Musk will only have one outstanding tranche to unlock before the 10-year 2018 CEO Performance Award expires on the 20th of January 2028. 11 days after receiving Elon Musk's offer to buy the entirety of Twitter, and 10 days after its board resolved to block this purchase with a poison pill, Twitter's board has unanimously resolved to accept Elon Musk's original offer. On Monday, Twitter announced that it, quote, has entered into a definitive agreement to be acquired by an entity wholly owned by Elon Musk for $54.20 per share in cash in a transaction valued at approximately $44 billion. Upon completion of the transaction, Twitter will become a privately held company. Under the terms of the agreement, Twitter stockholders will receive $54.20 in cash for each share of Twitter common stock that they own upon closing of the proposed transaction. The purchase price represents a 38% premium to Twitter's closing stock price on April 1, 2022, which was the last trading day before Mr. Musk disclosed his approximately 9% stake in Twitter. While the agreed purchase is still subject to final shareholder approval, that approval is all but certain given Twitter's board member Shari Brett Taylor stating, "The Twitter board conducted a thoughtful and comprehensive process to assess Elon's proposal with a deliberate focus on value, certainty, and financing. The proposed transaction will deliver a substantial cash premium, and we believe it is the best path forward for Twitter's stockholders." In what appears to be a subtle form of shrinkflation of its long-range Model 3 variant in Australia, Tesla has removed the previously included 19-inch sport wheels as its default no-cost inclusion and instead relegated them to a $2,200 option. Prior to this change, the 19-inch wheels came standard with the car, although there was a no-cost option to have 18-inch aero wheels fitted if preferred. 18-inch aero wheels are now the default offering for both the standard range and long-range variants of Model 3. Despite Tesla's outstanding Q1 financial results, Standard & Poor's global ratings agency has fallen short of granting Tesla its much sought-after investment-grade rating of BBB- and above. It has instead reiterated its previous rating of BB+. While noting issues with Tesla's COVID-19 affected Shanghai Gigafactory and the costs associated with the ramping of Tesla's Brandenburg and Austin Gigafactories, S&P have outlined a clear path for Tesla to be upgraded to investment grade by the end of this year. S&P stated that, "We will consider upgrading the company to investment grade later in 2022 if it maintains its trajectory and sustains automotive EBITDA margins of over 18%, excluding regulatory credits, while ramping up production at its Berlin and Austin production facilities. Before upgrading Tesla, we would also require it to maintain strong liquidity and generate free operating cash flow to sales of over 2% on a sustainable basis. In a posted letter notification to account holders who own Tesla shares, JP Morgan appears to have prematurely disclosed details of Tesla's proposed share split. In their notification of corporate action letter, which has been verified by several independent sources, JP Morgan states that their preliminary information is that Tesla will enact a 20-for-1 stock split. The expected delivery timeframe for newly ordered Model 3s has extended beyond the end of this year and is now firmly planted into 2023. It is unknown at this stage if Tesla's 9 to 12-month delivery times will eventually reduce to more normalised levels, but it's clear that production interruption at Tesla's Shanghai Gigafactory have severely disrupted Tesla's delivery pipeline. Tesla shares have suffered their 16th all-time largest percentage fall yesterday, with a loss of nearly 12.2% of their $1.03 trillion market capitalisation. This nearly $126 billion fall is the second largest one-day loss of market capitalisation on record, with the largest loss of value being $144 billion, which occurred on the 9th of November 2021. Interestingly, last year's record value drop coincided with Elon Musk commencing a significant share disposal program, which was structured to allow him to purchase discounted Tesla share options, which were vested to him according to his CEO Performance Award. It is currently speculated that Elon Musk may have commenced a new Tesla share disposal program in order to provide liquidity for his newly announced Twitter acquisition. And that was this week's news. And you can tell from that I've been pretty tired. So to introductions, anyone that's new, please do say hello and introduce yourself if you're comfortable in doing so, or you can do it later on if you prefer.
Yeah, I can. So,
sorry, go Lee, and I
oh,
think Rick, you were talking, but you're muted, and we've got a few new people. So Lee, you were first. Jump in, say hello.
Hi everyone, just first time joining, so just been looking around a little bit for some information on the Model 3. First put an order in for one very recently, so I'll be waiting a long time. That's okay. Yeah, anyway, nice to meet you all.
Fantastic, welcome, and yeah, welcome to the long wait, but we can assure you that it's definitely worth it. It's absolutely worth it. And if you want to have a little bit of solace, Richard Cooper a little bit later on will explain to you exactly how many days it was before he got his Model 3.
It's 187 weeks.
Yeah,
right.
So how many days is that, Richard?
1,309 days.
1,309 days.
So that day,
and it's worth it.
Well, I have got a funny one for you. I actually ordered initially when they were first released in Australia, where you can first pre-order, and then when they said, okay, yeah, cool, you can start ordering them. I did that, and then I cancelled. A bit stupid of myself. So a few years later, back into it. So
it's okay. You can come late to the party. You can still enjoy it and party on with all the other party goers. Okay, so I think next was Rick. Rick's welcome.
Yeah, hi. I've had my Tesla 3 standard range about 4 months, one of the unicorn models. Very pleased with it, very happy with it. Just wanted to ask a question about tow bars.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get to you very shortly. And I think, Tom, you're next.
yes. Hi, everyone. So, unlike many of the other members, I do not have a Tesla, and I apologize for this, but I will in the future. The main purpose of me being a part of this was I was recommended to join from John Edwards, who's the Director of Cybersecurity with the Department of Premier Cabinet. he recommended I join because I'm doing a research project or an MBA project on trying to help and alleviate some of the range anxiety issues in Western Australia. And so I was hoping to ask some questions about, are you experienced with the EV? How many EVs you have? When have you had an issue with range anxiety? So perhaps later I can ask those questions when we're all ready. But I've brought with me two members of my team, so Najwa and Joe, who we're international based. So yes, I'm from WA, but they're from around the world, and we're just here to seek some information so we can hopefully tailor a better solution for all of us.
Yeah, fantastic. Welcome. And look, we're more than happy to get deep into the weeds of using our cars, going bush and away from fast DC chargers and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, if you bear with us for a little bit, we'll definitely get into the deep weeds on that sort of subject. Now, is there anyone else that's new before we sort of move into questions?
Harold,
No,
I
I
just
think
wanted to mention something, please.
yes, Norm.
So everyone knows that I had my Tesla on the 9th of March and everything was going really well till we managed to get a scratch on the front bumper. It would appear like someone reversed into the car at Bunnings. But what I was very surprised was that the car didn't seem to move. There was no panel damage. It's just a scratch. So I wonder if anybody else has experienced this with the CCTV on the car, that you get a bump, but the car doesn't move.
Well, the thing is, the car, it'll probably be hard to see it actually moving because the camera that's taking the video is attached to the car. So the car won't move. It'll be sort of the rest of the world that will sort of move. And yeah, I mean, getting a scratch is pretty easy. You don't have to push the car too hard to get a scratch. So maybe you're just lucky not to get a dent, but unfortunately the scratch is going to cost you in getting fixed. Did you
We've
manage to get
contacted,
the number plate of the car?
yes. And we've put in a request to RAC. Now we've just got to go and get a quote and get it done.
Awesome. Fantastic. Now, sorry, I think it was scanning the room. I think it was Rick, you had a question?
Yeah, we've got a pair of electric bikes, and we've got a we've got a heavy duty tow bar, heavy duty bike carrier. So we need a tow bar, and I'm told that there's a stealth tow bar available at that lot out at Wangara.
Yep.
Give me a price, etc. And they seem decent people to talk to, but I'm just concerned about whether it would affect the warranty on the Tesla if I have a tow bar fitted. I'm getting reading on it. I'm getting various answers on the internet. I just wonder what you have a thought on it.
I think the most practical answer is clearly if your fitment of the tow bar has nothing, if there's no clear path to that tow bar causing a problem with any part of your car that's under warranty, then you need not be worried. So for example, if your headlight globe blows, that Tesla can't blame your tow bar for doing that. If however, say the ultrasonic sensor on your bumper bar on the back pops out or isn't aligned properly, then there's an arguable case that perhaps that might have been affected because the tow bar was fitted because they had to take the bumper off. So I guess you'd have to apply sort of more common sense. Tesla aren't the sort of company that will militantly try and trap you and get you on a technicality. Having said that, in Norway, a lot of Norwegian Tesla owners famously say that because they always change their wheels because they have summer tires, winter tires, whatever, and they change rims because they have cheaper versions and more flexibility. And Tesla has sort of colloquially gotten a reputation of always blaming the rims for any warranty issues, regardless of what that is, even if it's like a tear in your seat or something. But no, I wouldn't really worry, Rick. There are many people. I think there are several in the room that actually have the stealth tow hitch. I know Joe does, Pete does, and Richard does. So Richard
And Steve does.
and Steve, sorry, and Steve. So there's about 4 or 5 that have already got it. And well, please speak up if you had any problems or how you're finding the tow hitch.
Are any of you using it for towing or purely for?
Oh, sorry.
cycling?
Anyone that's already had experience of the tow hitch. Just describe what it's like, how the installation progress goes, and what your car is like afterwards.
Yeah, Rick, I did mine a couple of years ago for the very same. I've got 2 e-bikes and I used to go down to Mandurah at Christmas time. So I did exactly the same. I didn't put it myself, fit it myself. It's been fine. No problem.
One of these stealth tow bars is what they call them. I
Yep.
think.
Yeah.
So it's just not there 99% of the time. You just undo the cover, put it in and use it. And then so it doesn't look like I've got a tow bar 99% of the time.
No effect on when you're reversing with the sensors or anything like that, or nothing?
When the bikes are on there, it won't work. But when the bikes aren't there, no, not a problem.
When the bikes aren't there, yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Rick, two things that I'll mention. So number one, if you're getting it done, and if you're a TOCWA member, make sure you let them know and you'll get a discount.
Thank you.
And also, one thing that I found so I took a trailer down to Walpole a couple of weeks ago, and one thing I found is that the tow bar is a little bit lower than it would be on most other cars. It's because of that stealth design.
Okay.
You either, if you are going to be using it for towing, or if you're going to be using it for the bikes, just keep that in mind that it sits a little bit lower than most other tow bars.
Does it ground? So have you had any grounding issues at all with it?
I have. So there's one place at what's the shopping centre just off the freeway, south the river. Anyway,
Coburn?
no, the other one.
Garden City.
Garden City. So where the charger is, and when you have to go up onto the second floor, the road goes up fairly suddenly. So you got to go, well, with the stealth hitch, you got to go fairly slowly, otherwise you'll scratch the bottom of it. And I've also managed to scratch the bottom of it reversing, and there was a curb that was quite a bit higher than usual, and I just scraped it. So, but only by it. So the tow bar's flat, and then there's a tiny little protrusion, which is only about 2 mil, and that 2 mil protrusion just had a couple of scratches on it. So,
okay, but you've had no issues with the towing part of it. I think they're rated up to, is it 1,000 kilo? I'm not sure for towing.
1,000, yeah. It's actually quite dangerous towing it because you forget that you're towing anything because of the torque of the Tesla. So, but no, the only issues I've had were, as I documented last week, was with charging. So it's fairly inconvenient, especially in my case with that trailer that I borrowed. It was actually John Edwards' trailer. I think Tom mentioned John before. So yeah, it was his trailer, and my car didn't quite fit onto it. So the trailer wouldn't come down low enough for my tow bar. So it basically makes it impossible for one person to unhitch it. So you either need 2 people, or you need to carry a crate or something to prop it up with. So it's quite inconvenient. So I didn't want to unhitch it. So I ended up taking 4 spots at Eton. So, but wrote a article about how we need to rethink charging stall layouts. It's all on the TOCWA page. So feel free to have a look there.
So Pete, is your hitch like that? So lift it higher up?
It's
not.
That doesn't come out as high as that.
Yeah. So you can
I
get
know
that.
you can get it. Yeah, I thought about getting an adapter or getting one that's a little bit higher. So so that would probably solve.
That doesn't seem to want to hit the ground at all. So
yeah, good. Yeah, that's quite good actually.
Yeah. So that just fits in the 2-inch slot, straight in.
Yeah, and it makes it really easy to put the extra chains on to put those on too.
Hey, Rich, did you have that hidden in your 2-inch slot? Did you? Where'd you pull that one from?
I just went to the store station. What's this? What are you talking about? I don't get it. I'm a bit slow tonight. Well, I'm always a bit slow.
So, Rick,
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I've used my tow hitch to pull my 6x4 trailer. It's been laden with building rubble, so to the top, but not over the top. So it would be coming close to the 1,000 kilos capacity. I've taken to the local tip, haven't experienced any issues at all whatsoever. I've done that several times, and I've now got the trailer loaded with a lot of green waste, and I'll be making another trip to the tip with that. And it's okay for reversing. I haven't had those issues that Pete was referring to with that, but perhaps my trailer is a bit smaller at just a 6x4, but you don't notice it. I've got the long range, which has got plenty of grunts, and your challenge is I try to remind myself that I'm towing, so I don't try to leave the lights too fast.
Yeah. I have to remind myself every time I get in the Tesla to remind myself I'm driving a Tesla and not what I call a normal machine. I have to switch my brain to Tesla mode. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
One other thing you should also be aware of if you're reversing with a trailer or a caravan or anything, obviously the sensors are going to be beeping because it's not a factory tow hitch. Hopefully we won't have that issue with the Model Y when that comes out, but yeah, because they'll probably presumably have towing mode. So
Okay.
similar to the Model X.
Excellent. Anyone else that's got a quick question? I see Kelly Hope, welcome to you. Feel free to say hello if you're comfortable doing so. Or if you want to ask a question, you can just do that in the chat as well. And,
Hi, I'm here. Sorry.
Oh, hi, Kelly.
Hi. I am new and I am the first time here. So we also got our Tesla in December and
Awesome.
we love it. My kids convinced me to sell my Prado for a Tesla. I did not know anything about them until then. So, and I'm the only female here by the look of it. So, but I love we call her Evie. We call her. And yeah, and we love her. And now we're looking at probably getting the Y or the X next because big boys with backpacks and we went camping and it just is a bit too small, but she's amazing. So I'm here because I actually nearly ran out of battery on the weekend because we're actually regional WA. And we had a really big trip from Lansing to Perth, Perth to Bunbury, Bunbury to Mandurah, Mandurah to Perth, all in about 36 hours. And I had nearly run out of battery and went to, now I can't remember his name, so, and I'm not sure if he's here, I've had a look, but someone who does the biofuel stuff.
John
Edwards is here.
He's right there waving at you.
Hi.
Hello. Hi. Yes. So yes, thank you. So he kindly had decommissioned the charger that I was hoping to charge at, but still let me charge, and we got home with 4%. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
We've been home with less than that before when my son had gastro. So yeah, so I'm here because of that, and I'm listening. I'm also trying to put kids to bed and other stuff, so I'm around.
Yeah, cool. So feel free to, if you need to, you can sort of like lurk or whatever. And the other thing too is that we're obviously recording this and we put it on our YouTube channel, which is just youtube.com/Tokwa. So this is episode 89. So all other 88 episodes are on YouTube as we speak.
Great, thank you. Because I have watched a couple of the Ahead of the Curve ones. So I've seen a couple of those. before
We're just dropping names everywhere. So Pete, who always is perpetually ahead of the curve, is with us.
Before the show. How much did that cost you, Pete?
You don't want to know. It wasn't cheap.
Yes, I'm sure
Pete's
Pete's cousin Kelly was invited by Pete to come on earlier.
Yeah,
So,
no, definitely not. But really, really helpful. And I have been part of the Tokwa Facebook group for a little
Cool.
while. So if there's been anything that's come up that I haven't, like I said, I didn't know much about them. My kids seem to know everything. And so they just tell me when to put on unicorn mode or Santa mode. They tell me how to do everything.
Well, we can combine your issues with range with Tom's interest in that sort of facet of EV experience.
Yes.
And there's lots of tips and tricks on how to extend your range. So, for example, if you just slow down by 10 k's an hour, you'll get about an extra 14% in range, which can make a big difference.
Wow. That's what I was told on the weekend.
But if you go 10 kilometers faster, you get 10% or 14% more excitement. So
Yes,
there's a
you get
trade-off
to-
for everything.
You get to sit by the side of the road 14% sooner.
Yeah, but you also age 14% faster.
Yes, you do. Yes,
Anyway,
you do.
I'm a bit of a speed demon anyway, so the speed of the car suits me quite well.
Well, you've
So
got the right car
what-
for that.
So Kelly, what sort of Model 3 do you have? Is it
Oh,
a standard?
Don't
long range?
asking me technical questions. Like,
Okay.
no, it's a 3 standard rating plus.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool, that's
Fantastic.
cool.
Oh, now, by the way, I don't know whether you've seen any videos about how you charge your car. For anyone that has a new Shanghai-built Standard Range Plus, you can charge your car to 100% all day, every day. And in fact,
Rear-wheel drive. They call rear-wheel drive now.
the
Harold.
rear-wheel drive Model 3. What you'll actually see, and I'll try and bring it up, is where the charging little marks are where you can adjust how far to charge it. If it lacks the word trip and daily, then you can basically charge that car to 100% all day, every day. And I don't know if you heard the news at the start of the program. Elon Musk actually literally said that one great thing about the lithium iron phosphate batteries, which is what your car has, Kelly, is that it loves being charged to 100%.
Oh,
Whereas-
that's
whereas the
amazing
nickel-
to hear because I haven't been doing that. I've been keeping it between 60 and 70.
Oh no, in your car, and I'll
100.
just try and bring up the,
Okay, I'll go put her on now.
yeah, just go and change it to, in fact,
It should be, Kelly, you need to have it to 100 at least once a week for ideal battery maintenance.
Okay,
That's it,
that's good
Kelly.
because I drive it to Perth quite often, so I do charge her to 100% when
Yep,
I'm
so-
like the day before.
so see on the screen here, you can see this
Yep.
is what your car would show. You can go from
Yep.
50 to 100%,
Yep.
and you can actually, because it doesn't have the word daily or trip, you can just leave it at 100% all the time, permanently.
Okay.
So it means you can always leave home with your maximum capacity. That's one awesome
Yep.
thing about the Standard Range Plus cars, or what are now called the rear-wheel drive Model 3s, is you can always leave home with a full charge.
Okay,
Completely
that's
full.
great to know. Because when I'm in like we live in Bunbury, so I only have to drive 3 to 5 minutes a day. So that's not very often. So I don't usually have her on 100%. But I go to Perth every Friday to teach. And then we went away to Lance and went to the Pinnacles and the sand dunes and all that. So it was yes, it was a big couple
Don't
of
forget
days.
you've got the Carrot supercharger.
Oh, we went there on the way there, but on the way back, I had to get to work by a certain place. 7 a.m. So
Yeah, cool.
yes.
There's
But thank you, John. That was like, oh my gosh, so amazing. I got home with 4% and I was really happy. But thank you also, Harold, because now at least I know I can put her on 100 now. So
yes, yep, absolutely. And that's the whole point of this Ask Us Anything is, at one stage everyone's new to the product, and all of us knew nothing about it until we researched it or learnt things. And I mean, Pete, you've had your car for nearly 3 years,
Yep.
Pete
Since
Petrosky?
September 2019.
and I forget how many new things that you've learnt in the last few months.
Yeah, at least half a dozen.
And I've forgotten what they are. They're really minor things, but you're sort of like just little quirks and tricks and tips and.
The problem is that I've learned half a dozen new things, but I've forgotten a dozen things. So still half a dozen things behind. But
Oh dear. Alrighty, so has anyone else got any other questions before we sort of start delving into everything that happened last week?
John
Can I-
This
Edwards.
week.
Oh, sorry, John, you were first. Yeah.
Just a couple,
sorry, yes, John.
couple of things, Harold. Just following on from Kelly's comment there, the Icona biofuel has been decommissioned.
Yep.
Right, so it should have been taken off PlugShare. I'm not sure if it's still there or not.
Yeah,
And-
it's off PlugShare
Yeah, it's
now.
off now. Yep.
Yeah, so we've put that up on a truck and we're getting it ready to start its role as a racing support vehicle. So that's what's happening there. So Kelly just showed up about half an hour after I brought it inside and stuck it up on the truck. So that was not good timing, but anyway, we got to put onto the Delta for a little bit and sort it out. And the other one was a couple of weeks ago, I was talking on this forum about pressure pressure monitors for the.
Oh, that's right.
And-
Pressure monitors.
And somebody said, oh, you can get them on eBay, you know, cheap as chips, and you can. And I got some. Only problem is they're not programmed. So they don't work if you buy them off eBay or those cheap ones off eBay. And was looking around for somewhere that knows how to program them, and that's a project that's in progress, which Pete Harris is helping me with. But yeah, in the end,
Hey, John, when I had my spare done just at Tyre Power in Wangara, they asked me if I wanted a TPMS, and I think they only charged me like $30, and and they did it all. So I presume it's all programmed and everything. I haven't tried the wheel yet, but it's a Tesla uses a standard frequency. It's not a different frequency from anyone else.
yeah. So the frequency, whatever it is, 233 is stamped on all these things, and they've even got Tesla stamped on them. But you know, they come from China, so. But yeah, try it out, Pete. Be interested to know if that works. But definitely these ones we got over from off China or eBay don't work. So anyway, I've got out of trouble. I bought a set from Tesla at the going price.
Cool. But there might be a way of getting them going eventually.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Talking of tyres, can I just butt in here a bit?
Go, Nigel.
I think it was Pete last week said Costco had got Michelin Pilot Sport 4s.
That's right.
They did. They had 8. They've only got 4 now. They were bloody good. Although it cost $60 to join Costco, they saved me $140 after the 60 on the cost of new tyres, and they weren't even going to be Pilot Sports. And they've got free rotation every 10,000 and free puncture repair if you get a hole in one.
Wow.
And I just go, when he was giving it back to me, he said, you come in every 10,000 Ks and we'll do a free rotation. And if you get a puncture and it's a legally repairable puncture, we'll fix it for free. And I'm going, well, for $140 plus I had to join Costco. So we spent 2.5 hours walking around Costco. That's
You
quite a
got
shop. Sorry? Sorry, Pete?
I was just saying, you gave everything that you saved, you gave back in the shop.
Yeah, we did actually.
And then some, no doubt. So,
But yeah, it was surprisingly cheap. So I've got 4 brand new Michelin Pilot Sport 4s on. They're not the foam inserted ones, but as you said, Pete, I haven't really noticed any difference in the noise level.
yeah.
Yeah, so Nigel, you'll be looking forward to Costco opening at the corner of Thomas Road and the
Yes.
freeway.
Yeah, I heard about that today.
Well, you can see the construction taking place. It's opposite the it's on the left-hand side as you're driving south on the eastern side of the freeway.
Yeah, I heard about it. Is that going to be as big as the 20-hectare site up by the airport?
Yeah, no idea. But if they do the tire rotations, it's a much quicker drive.
Yes, and also closer if I get a puncture.
Yes.
And
Fantastic
Nigel, how'd
rotation.
they go? Did you give them the pucks or did they know?
No, they actually had a set of pucks.
Oh, really? That's
Yep.
awesome.
And they said, have you got your card? Because I just said, it's that Tesla out there. Oh, have you got your card? And I said, you've got pucks? Yep, we know all about Teslas. We've got a set of pucks. I was quite pleasantly surprised, actually.
Oh, that's brilliant. When I spoke to them about 6 weeks ago, they didn't have a set and they didn't know anything about it. So they've obviously, kudos to them. Obviously, they've got themselves a set.
Yeah,
So
they did only pump the tyres up to 38. And I said, can I have, it's supposed to be 42 if you look at the sign on the door, but I like them at 45. They said, yeah, just bring it back and we'll. So I was still there. So I just drove it to the thing and they came out and they pumped them up to 45.
Right.
And on the way home, I checked and they were at 45.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So that's the best $60 you've ever spent, Nigel.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Apart from the 60K plus on your car.
Well, I mean, those set of tyres that I had used were, 2 were down to the mark and the other 2 were almost there. And I've done 57,000 Ks in them. So I thought that was pretty reasonable.
One thing they won't do, and which is probably a good thing, is even if you buy the tyres from them and then bring them back, let's say 2 months later and say, can you throw these on now? They won't do it. The reason why they say is because they keep their tyres in a temperature controlled environment to make sure that the rubber doesn't deteriorate or degrade with, in high temperatures or what have you. So
they were all just sitting there in the workshop or inside Costco.
Right.
But the other thing is they use nitrogen to pump up the tyres. I don't know if that makes a blind bit of difference.
Wipe away.
Sorry.
Well, that's debatable. I've heard that it's basically it's just a waste of time. Because
I only use nitrogen when I used to race because we needed the exact pressure, and when your tires set up more, the temperature actually expands it more, and you get a lot more tire pressure after heated tires. But when you're on the road, unless you're driving like
I do.
Nah, maybe someone else. I don't know. I can't think of anyone that's crazy now. But
Nigel looks like he's driving a rocket at the moment.
Yeah, very impressive.
But that's alleging.
It's not really going to make much of a difference.
It's a hemorrhoid problem he's got.
And honestly, they're probably not even putting nitrogen. They're probably just saying that. I can't imagine why they'd even do it, and you'd even know.
I think aircraft certainly have nitrogen in their tyres, and I can't remember why.
It just reduces heat. As you just said, they just expand less. I last time I pumped up mine, I used 80% nitrogen, so that was all right.
I was just going to say that's what normal fresh air is 80% nitrogen.
Exactly.
Oh dear.
I think Carmen does nitrogen because she's such a speed demon. Maybe ask her if she's got better results.
Look, I reckon our cars are so heavy, shouldn't we be pumping helium into the tyres to get a bit of buoyancy?
Yeah. Maybe some green hydrogen, Harold, see if that goes all right.
What could possibly go wrong if you hit a nail and it scratches? Yeah, awesome. Mix that with a stoichiometric amount of oxygen.
You just get water if it goes off.
Well, it's yeah, but it's the going offness that's the issue, isn't it? All right. So has anyone else got any questions or comments or anything?
Can I just
Is that Damon above you, Harold?
Yes, it is.
Has he had his car repainted?
Yeah,
he has. I think he's clearly had it rewrapped, and I mean,
It's
good
looking red.
on him. Good on him for admitting that burnt orange is not the flavour of the month. So
Well, it was that time that he was in Adelaide. He was trapped in Adelaide. He must have realised that it's time to change the colour.
Well, I don't want to speak Damon, but I reckon he's come on now to prove you wrong, Harold.
Yeah, I think it's a showdown.
He's come on the show and he's decided to put an end to this burnt orange nonsense.
Yep.
To shut it down once and for all.
Yeah,
It's been going on for the last 75 episodes.
Look, I trust a small media company called the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, which on Saturday, the 6th of March 2021, literally broadcast this image of Damon's car. And if that's not burnt orange, I don't know what is. And you'll notice that the leaves are green, the skin tones of this woman are appropriate.
That's not a Robobot?
Her genes are pixelated.
It was a Robobot.
Robobot. And that is as burnt orange as any car could ever be. And it looks awesome. It looks fantastic.
Who's had it rewrapped then?
And he's had it rewrapped. I mean, look, it's I respect a man that admits his mistakes. And
You can tell it's wrapped because it's got a white interior.
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's it.
Absolutely.
That's why it hasn't come on, because he had to wait a while for the wrap to arrive.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Precisely.
That's why he's been hiding. Or he relocated to Adelaide for a while while he was there.
Actually, Adelaide, on that Adelaide business, I got out the day before they opened the borders to Queensland and New South Wales. Got out the day before to avoid having to quarantine.
We thought you were going to get trapped there.
I would have if we left the next day.
That would have been bad. There you go.
Oh, okay.
Harold,
So
should we answer Tom's question about the range anxiety?
Oh, okay. Well,
I think, didn't Rick have a question though?
Oh, sorry.
Go, Rick.
Oh, sorry, mate. Yeah. So I've just commented on the. I like the idea when you put your indicator on that you get the side view, the camera view. Anyone else finding it annoying how low on the screen it is? It's obscured my obscure it on the steering wheel. Nothing you can do about it.
Been going on for
Nothing
a while.
at the moment. It'll be a software update later on, I reckon.
You can just not bother looking at it. I don't know how they did it for years. Just don't look at it.
Yeah, but you're a technical man, Jared.
That's it.
Actually,
Straight to the pass.
Turn your head.
Cooper has a solution to that.
No, I don't.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah,
Your,
move the screen.
Swivel monitor.
It's still hard to see.
Still low.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Where's
Eric, is there any way of getting that camera footage up onto your?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
There's a couple other ways that you can fix that. Get it.
The Model 3s need a portrait screen like the old S and X's.
Nah.
Yeah. No.
Actually, Damon, does your car? No, your car doesn't have it.
Just on that point, actually, Harold, there was information that was, I think maybe it was last week, it came out that the motherboard for the new Model 3s actually has a secondary visual output device that's on the actual hardwired on the board itself, which then leads itself to be able to actually run a second display output similar to what the Model S and X's have in front of the steering wheel.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes it a lot easier for people. Rob Mauer and many other Americans have modified their cars where they basically shoehorn a video connector or a data connector so that they can actually get the raw, the actual screen footage directly to a recording device rather than having a camera looking at the screen, especially when they're doing their FSD visualization and all that sort of stuff. So that would be really useful, Russell.
I think the intent, though, the car might get redesigned potentially to have a second screen built in, not necessarily for the purposes of what we're describing now, but yeah, there probably could be a use case for that. Yeah.
Not going to happen.
Yeah, it's there. I mean, not to say it's going to happen, but the fact the board's got it on there means there's more functionality on it than what we had before.
That'd be because, no, I was going to say it wouldn't be the same board, obviously, that the Model S and X have, because they have 3 screens effectively.
Yeah. No, it's
because
not.
I've got the secondary one in the aircon vents in the back or on the center console.
Now I've got a question for John. It's rally related. John, what I'm wondering is when I've seen rally drivers before, well, like when you watch the onboard footage, when they do hairpin corners, they sometimes pull their handbrake and like do a little bit of like get the back end to come around a bit. Because we haven't got handbrakes in our car, does Jürgen actually do that when he drives, or how does he do those sort of hairpin turns?
I've no idea.
Is that your technical response there, John? Or
That's right.
We're having a track day on the 14th of May, and we got about 3 hours that morning to get into Jürgen's ear. So probably best talk to him direct, I reckon.
exactly.
Yeah.
I'll go through his media channels next time then, maybe.
We'll just come down on the 14th, Russell.
Yeah.
We might be able to strap you to the bonnet, the front of the bonnet, and you can.
No, I do my racing on the road. Well, men do their racing. That's where I'm at. I don't worry about this track bullshit. So,
Oh,
Yeah.
you should
some
go,
good
mate.
fun.
Great fun.
Yeah,
It is
hello.
good fun.
I think the answer to the question is that the Tesla can take the corner that fast that we don't need to do handbrake turns. So we just do them as just as quick turning the corner.
yeah, okay.
I don't know. I don't think you can do handbrake turns with a Tesla.
No.
I wasn't sure if you had some sort of like
But you
electronic
can
override where you can lock the brakes manually, like with a little switch or something. I guess
You
that's
can.
what I was asking.
You can drift it though, with your track mode.
Yeah.
So, if you do it more rear based, so
Oh, just the drive balance, you just change it to more the
Yeah.
rear and then yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Paul, isn't that got a technical term? Is that called hooning?
I'm not a hoon. I
and
still
you
have
get-
my car.
And they park your car up for you and give it a service for a month or something like that. Is that right?
Yeah, something like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they keep
I-
it charged for you.
I've still got some points. So
Yeah.
Actually, here's a question about the handbrake.
yeah, but
When my young bloke went to do his license, we weren't able to use the Kona because the instructor wasn't able to pull a handbrake just in case something went wrong.
Oh.
So we had to do it in the BT, which the handbrake's pretty ineffective anyway. Has anyone done a license test in a Tesla? Or know of anyone done it?
Just put FSD on and just sat there and
passed.
Good parking, yeah.
Yeah, my son's 3 years off and he can't wait to do his. He's like, I don't need a manual license, Mum. I'll be doing it in the Tesla.
Right. Oh,
there you go.
Maybe by then they'll change it. Sorry,
John.
go.
I think that was the testers were being a little bit belligerent. There was an older gentleman that had I think it was an old Nissan Leaf, and he had to do his driving test when he turned 80, and they refused to use his car because it didn't have a conventional handbrake.
Right.
What they ended up doing was, and this gentleman didn't have any other car, so it was a bit of a stalemate. In the end, they basically got another testing inspector or whatever you call them, assessor, to take the test.
Okay.
And it was basically that they were prepared to take that slightly additional risk.
Right.
Technically, if the guy went out of control, but I mean, it could always have leant over and just pressed the handbrake button. So on a Tesla, I believe, I've never tried this, but I believe you can press and hold the park button, and effectively the handbrake or auxiliary brake will activate, I think, fairly gently and bring the car to a stop if it had to.
Okay.
But if you take your foot off the accelerator, it does the same thing though.
True too. Yes, yes. But you can actually do it, and there is this nexus, and they did say that they referred to this person as a specially endorsed assessor that was prepared to take the test.
Okay.
So.
Was his surname Envelope? Same guy works in a country place. Oh, I know the guy.
No, it wasn't quite Mr. Envelope, but
wasn't Mr. Envelope. Okay.
But
I've accidentally put in
What
reverse
about
while
his
driving.
cousin, Mr. Green? Was it? Maybe another guy.
John, do you reckon you can test that out on the track? Do you reckon on the track day you can get someone to smash their
Not my car.
brake as they're driving along
Yeah,
and see what
yeah.
happens?
Russell, you
I've
come
put
down
into
and bring
reverse
your
what I've
car
been
in there and do
driving.
it.
I've
Can I
tried
break
it.
stuff?
I've tried it in the Kona, and if you put the park brake on the Kona, it just doesn't work. While at certain speeds, but at low speeds, it does come on. So I haven't tried it with the Model 3.
Okay.
I think it does work. So if you just sort of go fairly slowly and you do push it, I think it brings it on sort of progressively. So it's not like it's going to anchor or skid the back wheels because it's
Or
only
if
on the
it's
back.
on a hill, it does it.
So say again, Kelly.
If it's on a hill, it does it. So my son's school is on a slight hill, and if I just take my foot off the accelerator, thinking it's just going to stay, it will then say no, it's the park brake's on automatically.
Oh, different scenario. We're talking about
Yeah.
smashing down the freeway, hitting the park brake.
And doing a U-turn.
Okay, I'll do that next week and let you know.
Oh, jeez.
Actually,
Yeah.
let us know.
I'll watch it on the news on Sunday
Yeah.
night when you do it. Yeah.
I'll
Tesla.
make sure no one's on the freeway. I go pretty early.
There's a great YouTube channel called Wham Bam Tesla Cam. So highly recommend it, Kelly. It's quite entertaining.
I'll try it, but I'll do it in reverse. So I'll do my reverse drag again and hit it when I'm doing that and see what happens.
Oh.
I think you need to take one of your props with you, Russell, and put it in the front seat with you, because you'll need something a little bit of air in there to bang around in. It gets thrown out of the seat.
Just in case, Damon, we didn't quite reiterate my issue. That was the other image we got from the national broadcaster as well. So just making sure, and you will notice that the image of the phone was also burnt orange. So not only is the phone recording it as burnt orange, so is the national broadcaster's.
He's had it rewrapped now. He's got it all rewrapped. It's definitely
It's actually
red.
a red armband, so the colour's all wrong.
It's now. It's fire red, isn't it, Damon?
No, they were orange red.
Oh, that was
The
burnt
photo
orange.
behind me was at one of our meetups.
Yeah, but the new wrap is definitely fire red.
That was at
Yes.
Anna, I think.
Oh. I like the new colour anyway. It's good. It's good.
Indeed. Now, I did put into the chat the try booking. In fact, I'll just click on it. So for anyone that still wants to go to, that hasn't yet booked for the track day on the 14th of May, I've put the try booking code in chat, and there's basically 4 places left. So it's $150 per entrant, effectively. I think technically it's permitted to have the car as the entry. So you could, if you wanted to, have 2 drivers, but basically the 2 drivers would get half the driving time in that car, because it's the car that actually does the driving, if you want to sort of save a bit of money or whatever.
Yeah.
But basically 4 participants left, and it's the 14th of May.
Is Peter Harris trying to ask a question? Has he sold his car yet, or is he just got his hand up for no reason?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Pete, go. You're muted.
Maybe he's left up by mistake.
No, he's unmuted.
Must be that wind farm behind him.
What? Are you talking to me?
Yes. Did you have your hand up?
No.
Oh, okay. That's all right.
I was fiddling about trying to pump something up there about aircraft tyres and the nitrogen. And there's a few different reasons. One of them was that it doesn't expand as much in heat. So when the tyre gets hot, the air pressure in it stays pretty much the same.
Except it has to comply with the P1 V1 on T1 rule of physics. That is that all ideal gases have to abide by. So I just don't quite get that argument, to be perfectly honest, because all gases respond to P1 V1 on T1.
It's because the size of the molecule of oxygen is different to the nitrogen size. That's why, Harold.
The nitrogen's bigger.
I got to fly to Geraldton on Saturday on a Fokker 100, just there and back. I was only in Geraldton for 20 minutes, but I was wondering the whole time, what's in those tyres? Just as they said to me, there's no in-flight entertainment. here's your bottle of water and sit down and shut up. So yeah, there you
get
go.
water, really?
Yeah, just a very small bottle. I think you could use it as aftershave. I wasn't sure, but yeah, that's all you got.
I think it's mainly the carbon dioxide that has the larger molecule, because the air you put into it is nitrogen, carbon dioxide, and oxygen, right? Plus, if you're around Jared's house, you probably get a bit of sulfur and stuff in there as well.
Absolutely.
And a bit of Coke.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
methane,
They had no
whatever.
Coke, no sugar on the plane. Can you believe it? I said to the hostie, "Where's the emergency procedure? Break out a can now." She looked at me like, "We've been to COVID." I said, "COVID's over. Get off this flight." So first thing I did when I got off the plane in Geraldton, straight in the cafeteria, grab a drink. Couldn't wait to get in there. It's great. And then got back on the plane. So she was looking at me like very weird. Why did you just get off the plane? Now you're going back. So
Oh yes. So how
It was
was
just-
that deal? Did you how many
it was a
kilos?
status. It was just a status point run. That's all it was, to keep my status.
Right.
If you did one Qantas flight, you could keep your status for another year. So it was worth doing. So a very
Yeah,
boring
cool.
flight.
I remember in the old days of Ansett when they were a thing, and you had the mystery flight, and
Yeah.
these people I know got a mystery flight to Kalgoorlie and basically said we're just not doing it, because there were 4 of them. There's two couples, and they got it to Kalgoorlie, and they said, well, we can drive to Kalgoorlie for cheaper than 4 mystery flights, so we're not going. And then they sort of was a bit of hoo-ha and stuff, and then they eventually ended up going to Melbourne on the morning flight.
Yeah,
But
right.
there you go. All right, has anyone got any questions before we maybe get into some weeds with Tom?
I've just got like a good news story.
Okay, yeah, go,
Like,
Paul.
with the Tesla service, you know, they replaced my seat at no cost and my steering wheel, and it's awesome.
Oh,
So that was good.
Fantastic.
So that they did no, but I got an
Did it
actual
rub down as
Tesla
well?
loaner, so that was quite good.
Oh, you got a Tesla loaner.
Yeah, and then there was another guy there complaining about the Uber cost was going to cost him $70. I said,
Yep.
"Where do you live?" And he was like, "The next suburb over." So I said, "Jump in." So I took him for.
And he didn't complain. You just charged him 50.
So what was wrong with your steering wheel and stuff?
With because mine was one of the first Model 3s, it was starting to delaminate, like the back of the seat, and it was just some random thing, and the steering wheel was a bubbling that the glue inside of it was starting to pop out. I was fine with it, but they
Was your
replaced it
steering wheel
anyway.
got heat?
It should do, but it's not on that. And then I was like, damn, I should have asked. So I'm hoping the next update I get, it'll change, because all steering wheels are now heated ones.
Yeah,
So
but
I got the late.
have we
So
got
your
the
cabin
wiring
getting
for
too
that?
hot, or
It
is
should
it
still
your heater?
Pardon?
Have we got the wiring loom for that?
It should be in the steering wheel itself. So, and you
Is
can
the steering
actually.
wheel heater or the cabin overheat protection turned off?
No, that's I never have that off. So, and I've got the latest. Oh, I've got the latest update as well for the car. So now I've got. You can put stuff back down on the screen. So like your seat heater and your
Yeah, all your hot
demister and
bars.
stuff like that. Oh, so much better.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Drop and
so-
drag?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, good to know that.
Oh, well,
What
there you
version?
go.
What version is that, Paul?
Uh,
Is that 12.3.1?
That's
Yeah.
the one.
Yeah, there you go.
In the latest update, it's
Yes.
updated the Model X Pinnacle display to show a bit more of a 3D when you're coming in and out of drive into park. It spins. It's got a graphic, spins around
Oh.
the car, and that looks
Yep.
quite nifty.
Cool. Awesome.
Cool. There's a new app as well.
oh yeah, cool. Yeah, we got a latest app as well.
What does it
I was
do?
just checking.
I missed that bit. Sorry, Damon.
I was just checking.
What was
Ah,
that last
cool.
bit you said?
My Model X got an update. Displays on the Pinnacle display behind the steering wheel. It got more of a 3D effect when you bring it in and out of park.
Okay.
It's got the vehicle spins around and has more of a 3D effect. And when you open and close the doors, it looks much better. It's updated.
Yeah, right.
It's the same with the Model 3 as well. I just checked.
Yeah, right.
Happy days.
All right, so Tom, let's do you now. So we'll have a weeds warning alert. So yeah,
Weed,
so
this is a drug section.
yeah, that's right.
Weed,
So
420.
Can you run the warning, please, Harold? Just run the warning before you get to this.
Oh yes.
Yeah,
so-
run the warning. It sounds like a drug weed.
The following segment is general in nature and shouldn't be taken as personal professional advice. Listeners should seek their own independent assessment from a qualified advisor and not rely on the general nature of information in this program.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Love it.
Tom, shoot, ask
Hi,
away.
Tesla.
Yes. Great. Well, as you know, I'm doing an MBA and I'm focused on, my team's focused on trying to solve this issue of range anxiety, especially for people who are traveling, like Kelly mentioned, long distance, and other members here who, got their vehicle charge down to a few percent and is a bit worried about it. So I just want to ask some questions to explore the problem at first. But before I do so, I'm wondering if we can use the chat because I have some really general questions first and one-word answers. And I'm wondering if after that I can get into the more personal ones. So first of all, how many EVs do you own? Do you own one? Do you own two? Have you got another one in order? So what's your 1, 2? Okay, so majority of everyone,
John
some
wins.
people have been
John
ordering.
Edwards wins.
Wow, 5.
Well, it's a family of 5 EVs.
Okay, wow. Okay, so it looks like we've got some good experience here.
And don't
I'm gonna
forget,
take it because
Tom,
you're a part.
if you can't jot these down, this is recorded on YouTube, so you'll be able to just remember we started about 7:30. So if you go about
10
an hour into the program, you'll be able to find this segment, so you can then re-listen to it.
Right.
Oh, Richard Chapman.
Another general one. Another
Yeah, go on,
general
Tom.
question is,
Yes, go Tom.
Generally, has your experience been great using a Tesla? I mean, I assume you're part of this group, you probably love it. Has it been great? Has it been so, not so good, amazing?
Awesome.
Okay,
And absolutely shit.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Absolute crap.
Just very minor things.
Terrible. Wish we'd never done it.
Yeah.
Absolute, yeah. Should have bought the Nissan
I mean,
Leaf. The new
we're all
Leaf.
here almost every week talking about our cars. What do you think?
All right, yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's a sign for itself. So I'm happy about that, and that's what I expect. But now I want to get into some challenges. So, what has been the biggest challenge?
Hang on, so go Pete.
Yeah.
Go Pete.
Just quickly, so I did a bit of a study myself before I got my Tesla. We had 2 plug-in hybrid electric vehicles before we got our Tesla. So we would go and charge at the charges where Teslas were charging. And I made it a point whenever I saw a Tesla to go up and speak to the driver and ask them, how they like that car. And pretty much every single, and I probably would have spoken to, 30 or 40 different people, and every single person somewhere in the answer had the word love in it. So
yeah, more like love you to off.
Love you too, Jared. But there's a really good statistic, which is that 89% of Tesla owners replace their Teslas with another Tesla.
Oh yeah.
Which is just unheard of. No other manufacturer comes.
Yeah, well, I mean, I mean that's what I expected. I've heard and I know people who've got Tesla. I want one. I'm buying one when I go back to Australia. I'm very keen. The next question is, what has been your biggest challenge? Has it been the range issue? Has it been something else? Finding charges? What has been your number one biggest challenge?
The biggest issue for me is that it's very difficult not to go too fast because the concept of speed is completely different when there's no sound. So the rate of acceleration and the whole experience is completely different to a regular car. and not having the association of noise with speed for the first couple of weeks threw me off to a point where I was in situations where I suppose wouldn't normally have got myself into if the car was making all this noise as it was accelerating. And it goes 0 to 100 in like, 4 seconds. So you don't have much time to sit around and realize what you've done. So for me, that was the biggest thing to start with that I had, I guess, the experience of that.
So I'll pipe up here.
Yeah.
Biggest problem I've had is when I get out of a car that I've been driving for 2.5 years, my electric car, into a normal car. And I get out and I leave the engine running, or I have to use the brakes, which is unheard of.
This is Pete's line. Pete does this one.
It's a different experience that you get used to very quickly.
Hey.
Go back as you could never go back to owning a petrol car. It's just really impossible. So.
Yeah. The number of times you leave an engine running and just walk away with the thing unlocked is just ridiculous.
With the windows down.
The biggest issue I've got is my wife doesn't like the celebrity aspect of it, because she always gets lots of random people coming up, talking to her, waving, pointing. Yeah, pretty much.
My
celebrity.
I was going to say my biggest issue is time management, because you think, you've got your day planned out, and you run and do some errands in the shopping centre. You come back and there's 3 people waiting to have a chat with you.
It's called Tesla time.
Yeah, your Tesla time.
Is that about Jesus, Pete, or?
No, that's about the great Elon. Have you heard the way of Elon?
Another Jesus.
Yeah, the electric Jesus.
The book of Elon.
Now the info that you might want, Tom, is the biggest issue. Is this
charging?
This is actually a little bit deceptive, because this charger here is not a fast DC charger, nor is this one. However, it's still an awesome DC charger. This one here is actually, John Edwards is in the room, and this was done at his instigation and his hard work at Kaiguna. But the big issue is actually a few of us have done long EV trips. So Rob Dean.
Howard, what's that one? What's that? Is it Sandfire? Is it Sandfire to bring?
Sandfire, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
So in fact, Steve in the room
range anxiety.
Steve in the room has done that. I'll just very quickly try and find my tweet where I've got a map. And
I don't suffer from range anxiety. I suffer from knowing what sandwiches Joe's going to make anxiety. Sandwiches are going to be better this week than last week. That's what I suffer from.
Oh, there you are.
In terms of range anxiety, with me, Tom, it's very simple. I've done 70,000 kilometers on my car. And most of that has been in the city. I've done some long trips in the city, and I've done those 70,000 kilometers since September of 2019. So I drive roughly about twice as much as the average car does. And I've never even come anywhere near close to having any ranging anxiety in the city. It just doesn't exist. And if you're going somewhere where there are fast chargers, or at least DC chargers, you won't get range anxiety. If anything, you'll get bladder anxiety, because, the car can drive, my car can drive 3.5, 4 hours before you need to recharge. And on a Tesla supercharger, by the time you go to the loo, grab a drink, come back, you can drive another 300 kilometers, 400 kilometers. So it's not really an issue, but unfortunately, as I experienced a couple of weeks ago, once you put on a trailer, once the temperature drops, once you're going uphill, you've got a bit of wind in your face and it starts raining or what have you, that range can plummet down to from 400 down to about, 250 kilometers or even less. And if you're, 4, 5, 6 hours from Perth in WA, and there's no fast DC chargers, and the one charger that you're planning to charge on is out of action, it can really, we ended up having to charge on a AC charger for 3.5 hours, which was.
So how often are the ones you're wanting to charge at inactive? How often is it that someone's using it or is an issue?
So there's there's two categories of chargers when it comes to reliability. There's Tesla and then there's everyone else. So the Tesla superchargers have got, in the latest Tesla impact report, the 2020 impact report, they show a chart, and the Tesla superchargers have got near perfect uptime. So they're close to, above 99%. So they're very reliable, and you won't have you'd be very unlucky to have an issue. But it's a very, very different story with all the other chargers, unfortunately.
That's after they're installed and they've been running for a while. Is that what you're saying?
Obviously, yeah.
Margaret River would be a bit of a blur to their reputation of the installation time.
No, after that being properly commissioned.
Yeah.
So Tom, one issue is initially, if you're around town, it's fine. This is a map of a trip done in 2018. Now all the blue icons are AC charging units or just 3-phase power, which is basically slow charging. The purple are non-Tesla fast DC chargers, and the red icons are Tesla superchargers. So for instance, a trip from Perth, this is back in November 2018, a trip from Perth to Carnarvon is 907 kilometres. But what it required was 7 hours and 5 minutes of daytime charging. So that was the killer. In that 907k trip, you had to sit by the side of your car for 7 hours and 5 minutes. Now, if you contrast that with the other side of Australia, going from Canberra to Melbourne to Keith is here, that was a 1,200 kilometre trip, and that took less than 2.5 hours of supercharging in that same day. And in fact, a lot of time was wasted, probably about 20 minutes was wasted in Melbourne talking to the service guys. That's the situation as it was in 2018. If we look to now, there's actually, for instance, a fast DC charger at Jurien Bay. There's also a fast DC charger at Geraldton. So that initial Carnarvon trip would have been done a lot quicker. This Broome thing is fictitious. The issue is that you haven't got a lot of fast DC charging around the state.
What is that one in Broome, Harold?
It's fictitious. I've just got to knock it on the head after ringing the school that is allegedly hosting it. But I'll just quickly go back to the EV highway, which is what Synergy and Horizon Energy are embarking on.
While you're bringing that up, Harold, I might also comment on the fast charging, because I did that back in March of this year, as you highlighted earlier. So if you've got that map up there of around, especially Port Hedland to Broome, which is the reference to Sandfire.
Yes, let me just, sorry, I just got to get out of that screen and get back into this screen.
Yep, Tom, and also the comments that Pete, I think, made about the reliability of other chargers.
Mm-hmm.
So Sandfire.
I drove from Port Hedland to Broome. I had to stop at Pardue for 6 hours for a slow AC charge because I couldn't get a full 100% charge in Port Hedland overnight. Then I had to stop at Sandfire for 4 hours. Again, because the best I can get in the Model 3 is 11 kilowatts of charge. Spending 4 hours there so I could then get the Broome, which meant that I left Port Hedland nice and early and got the Broome after 10:30 at night. It was a bloody long day.
Okay. So it was very inconvenient, it seems like. But also,
I'm not going to do that trip again until there is DC fast charging along that route.
Now the good news there, Tom, is that if we just finish this little theme, this is actually the roadmap for the state government's EV charging network, which is going between Esperance to Perth, Kalgoorlie to Perth, all the way to Kununurra. And basically, what we've inferred is that they're all high power chargers. The minimum is 50 kilowatts, ranging up to 75 and 150 kilowatts. That would basically mean...
So they're all the fast chargers.
Yes, which the
Will
minister...
be, ideally.
Yeah, which the minister responsible for this has promised that these will be installed no later than early 2024.
Yeah, sure.
Do you know which company will be owning them, or are they sort of independently
Yeah, it's
purchased?
basically being owned.
Right.
So you'll notice this map has two colours. The blue is the Synergy Swiss, the southwest interconnected system, which is basically on a unified grid. And then everything in the orange colour is Horizon Power, and they are all off-grid, or they're microgrids. So it's basically Synergy and Horizon Power as a joint sort of owners of this network.
Yes, and I believe they're also looking at who they're going to contract for the management of it, which might be what you're interested in too, Tom. For example, is it going to be ChargeFox or EV or some other network to manage it for them?
Yeah.
I guess Mr. Envelope will make that decision.
Yeah, so sorry, go Tom. Have you got any other questions?
I will, yeah. So when you do your long range travel, how often do you stop and charge your vehicle? Obviously, Steve mentioned when you needed it. Is it just when you need it, or often do you see a charger and you say, "It's a perfect opportunity, even though I may have 20% charge left"?
What distance, Tom, are you thinking of? Like for
Tom,
a trip.
It can be anything.
So Tom, back in September, me, the wife, and our bubs, we did a 5-week trip up to Broome and back via Carragini, and we actually tried something that we'd never done before, which was basically just staying in campsites with powered sites. So we'd stay overnight and plug into the 15 amp on the campsite power, and then get up in the morning with a full charge, and then drive 3 or 4 hours to the next one, and just keep hopping like that. And that actually it essentially turned every campsite in Australia with a powered site into a overnight charging station. So,
but is that only with your particular? Yeah, is that only with your particular EV, or all the Teslas have this built in?
In fact, every electric vehicle would be able to do that.
If they have special adapters, they don't come with the car.
Sure, if you have a 15 amp, plug socket adapter, then that's it. So in a way, the whole of Australia already has a charging network, an overnight one at least.
Yeah,
but that was something that we never appreciated, and that was, nearly 5 years into Tesla ownership before we did that.
Yeah, go on.
In the city, it's a bit of a different mindset. So with a petrol car, because it's inconvenient, because you have to go out of your way, you got to find the petrol station, so you got to go off your regular route. You've got to, if you're looking at the petrol prices, you're probably trying to pick the cheaper one, and you may drive even further to get the cheaper petrol. Once you get there, you've got to stand there with your hand on the Bowser for 3 to 4 minutes, sucking in the fumes. Then you've got to go and line up to go and pay, and then you've got to get back onto your route. So psychologically or subconsciously, you naturally wait till you're almost empty, and then you fill all the way up, because you want to try and avoid having to do that again 2 days later. So, but because it's so easy just to plug in your car, so people say, how long does it take you to charge? And I say, about 3 seconds, about 1.5 seconds to plug it in, and about 1.5 seconds to unplug it. It's a bit like your mobile phone. A good story is Tesla actually built a battery swapping station between LA and San Francisco in 2013. and they could swap out a battery 2.5 times faster than it would take to refuel the average petrol tank. And they found he wasn't used nowhere as much as they thought he would be, and they couldn't work out why. And then they realised that when you're charging your battery, when charging a car, it's much closer to charging a smartphone than refueling a petrol car. So, if the shopping centre down the road said to you, we'll recharge your smartphone for free and we'll do it in half a second. Now, does that mean that you're going to get into your car now, drive to your shopping centre and go and recharge your phone? Of course not. You'll just plug in at home. So, and that's what, the vast majority of people charge their cars from home, and a majority of them charge it from their solar systems. So, by the time you get into your car, I've usually only charged about 80%, which means that in the city, I've got 400 kilometres. So I've got, for an average car, I've got 10, 12 days worth of driving pretty much every time I get into the car. So, charging is not really an issue in the city. It's a big issue.
My wife actually said she never realised how much she hated going to the petrol station, because she comes home, she plugs in, and that's it. It's done. There's no. So if you looked at overall, you'd spend way less time fueling, even if you include those times when you have more when you're on trips.
When you charge up, you don't ask you if you want 2 chocolate bars to make it cheaper. Those stupid questions, and you don't. You don't stab when you're at the petrol station.
Tom, so has up on the screen there. He was showing you where they actually demonstrated on stage. So in the left screen, there's a guy trying to fill up his internal combustion engine car, and they were able to swap out 2 battery stations. Sorry, two batteries faster than the person on the left could refuel his car with plenty of time spare.
Oh, they're swapping the battery in my car. Yeah.
Looks like it, huh?
battery just
Tom, I think you started asking a question, Tom, about how what do you do when you're out of your normal area, and the answer is you have to use apps like PlugShare and Local Knowledge to plan your stops, because once you get away from the city, once you're traveling further than you're comfortable with the capacity and your risk for running low, you really need to micro plan your thing. And that's what I mentioned from Port Hedland. I chose Pardue because it was supposed to be a faster charge than at Sandfire. And I think, Richard, you had some issues with the guy at Sandfire who was very reluctant.
Oh, yeah.
He was very reluctant to give a charge. But fortunately,
told the guy on the desk to say, I know it wasn't working, and I'm like, I know it's working. But I had to do a lot of negotiating to say, look, I'm going to dial it right down. We were staying overnight with them, so I think that made the difference. So we just got a room there, and I think I put it on 5 amp 3-phase, so the equivalent of 15 amps. So it's like as if we were camping, and they managed to eventually say, oh look, discover it wasn't broken. But I feel your pain if you had to go through that as well.
I stopped at that guy Ken at Sandfire. He was I had to convince him as well that I could dial it down, but because it was in the summer months, it was during the wet season, it was pretty empty. I was stopping, I wasn't staying overnight, but he reluctantly did that. And of course, we made what he considered to be a good donation to the RFDS, less than what it would cost me in fuel. But I made sure that we put it into the can at the cash register in front of all the staff. There you go, we're on our way. And so when we came back, there was no argument because you used it on the way back from the room. No arguments, no discussion. They were really happy. We still just there for 4 hours so I could bypass Pardue on the way back. Again, Tom, that's the planning you have to do. And they were happy. So hopefully we've made it easier for everybody. And in PlugShare, I said, just be polite and talk to him. Don't assume, because he got pissed off by somebody.
And Tom, you got to remember, this is the Wild West. So If you look at this screen here, these are all of the conventional chargers in Western Australia, and you can see there's not many. This is Tesla's fast DC charging, Tesla slow charging, Type 2, which is AC, and 3-phase. And you can see Western Australia, there's not much. Now, I'm just going to briefly turn
and we
on.
have to put up with people breaking them as well, Harold.
Well, yeah, that's right. So I'll just turn off all of this slow stuff and go to the quick stuff. And I'm not going to change the map scale. So this is all of Western Australia. If we go to the eastern states and just wait for the map to refresh, you can see the density of fast DC chargers. But that's just Australia, which still, you know, Queensland's done a great job on the coast, but there's still a lot to do inland. But if we just scroll over, say, to Europe, the experience now, that's not as many, there's many more than that, but the web page doesn't load more than a certain number. So to actually get more to show, you've got to zoom in, and it just keeps going and going.
Harold, if you
Please.
jump on the Tocqueville website and go to that towing article, I painstakingly went in and zoomed in on each section and try to get the maximum amount, but it shows the difference. Actually, sorry, not that one, the next one. Yeah, keep on going down. It'll be the next one.
Just past the head of the shave. There it is.
Yeah. So that's the US.
Yes.
And that's Europe. Yeah.
So these are similar scales, or the same. Well, the Europe will be zoomed in actually, but that's the density.
A bit more, yeah.
So
that's chargers living on top of chargers. That's horrible.
Yeah, it's not
Very
exactly
hardly
range.
charged.
Our chargers are. Go, Paul.
Okay. Because Tom, you're not just wanting Tesla, but all EVs. Is that the questions as well? Because you got to take into account if you're.
I mean, yeah. Let me speak. Tesla gets important, but I am sort of trying to help the entire EV environment. So it's not just Teslas. It could be for anyone. So another question would be, what if the amount of electric vehicles on the road was, 50% of the cars on the road? Would that make it incredibly hard for you to charge and capacity and plan all your trips because you have to factor in someone else using the same chargers?
Well, no, because with Tesla, they'll expand their supercharger network with the more cars. So you got to take into account as well, Teslas actually have a longer range than their competitors as well. So we have less anxiety and we can actually charge in the Tesla superchargers where others cannot actually charge into those. So you've got to take that into account as well.
At the moment.
Okay, so
yeah,
so I didn't know that.
So Tom, think of EVs as the early horseless carriages. So when horseless carriages were first invented, they were extraordinarily difficult to fuel because you had to get glass bottles of petroleum fuel, which was rare and difficult to get and transport to feed to these horseless carriages. You could say that EVs in some parts of the world, such as Western Australia at the moment, are on a par with the early internal combustion engine cars at the turn of the last century.
I've got a stat about that, Harold, if it helps to prove the point. So I'm all about stats and stuff, so hopefully I can give you my sources later if you want to draw the source down. But so Henry Ford created the most popular car of its time, back then, mass produced, and at its time there was millions of cars being built every year, right? And in the US there was only 15,000 petrol stations for millions of cars every year. But by 1930, so that was 30 years after the cars were invented, essentially, and was that 1908 the Model T was created, there was over 100,000 fuel stations in that short amount of time. So it went from 15,000 to 100,000 in the same amount of time. So I think as the popularity grows and there's more acceptance, there won't be these arguments around we need charging stations. It will just be a right of people just build them because they're economical, they work.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And a great example of that
is
is this image here. This is, sorry, I'll just get to the next one so I remember what it is. It's the Fifth Avenue, Fifth Avenue in I think it's New York. And these, all of the image, this is in 1900, and all of these are horses and buggies, and there's one car in this image. If you then scroll forward 13 years to 1913, all of these are cars and there's one horse and buggy. So that is the pace of change to go from a completely different paradigm. It's a complete paradigm shift.
The other thing is that everywhere has electricity, but not everywhere used to have petrol.
Exactly. So that
Right
was
on.
2 points I wanted to make, what Russell was saying. So exactly as Richard Cooper just said, you know, to put in a petrol station costs you $1 million minimum. To put in a charger, so Tesla Owners Club of WA put a charger in at Geraldton, and Harold will tell you the exact cost.
It costs $2,800 to install, and the reason why it cost that much was it had to be installed twice because there was a minor problem with it, so it had to be uninstalled temporarily to be repaired. But basically, the installation was paid for twice. The only caveat there is it was very generously hosted by Golden West Ice, and the building that the charger is outside of happened to have a nice convenient spare 250 amp circuit breaker, which made the installation quite simple. But even at worst case,
Harold mentioned the cost of the charger as well, obviously.
Oh, and the charger was about $35,000, which is less than the cost of a single petrol Bowser.
Yep. Last time I was on, someone wanted to see a graph about the take up of electric vehicles. I was showing some other graphs about changing technology and how fast it moves. This is actual data and projected data for car sales in the UK at the moment, and you can see the trend. And that trend there matches exactly what I was showing a couple of weeks ago with the invention of superior technology and how it And the thing that I guess I'll make the point again, Tom, just for your benefit, but all this time through here, this sort of zone here, the cost of these stuff is actually more expensive. It's really early adopter sort of territory. But once you get to around here, sort of where we are now, the cost is parity, and anywhere down here through this zone, it's actually more expensive to have a nice car than an electric car, but there's still so much legacy stuff around. But to maintain the infrastructure for old things costs more money than to create new ones because you haven't got the economy of scale anymore. So once you get past where we are now, you're essentially cheaper to have it. So people sort of, next cars in 5 years' time, they pick it up and so it's a bit of a lag. And then we're sort of at the point now where we're past that inflection point where the across is sort of like, that sort of shape. Once we've gone past this, like now, essentially, it's like, that's it. There's no real turning back anymore, if that makes sense.
And then the infrastructure changes dramatically because, for instance, if you look at LPG, a lot of petrol stations put in LPG tanks because a lot of cars used LPG and it was a lot cheaper fuel and all that sort of stuff because there wasn't the fuel excise at the same level as for petrol and diesel. And taxis, they all converted their cars to LPG. And I actually converted a couple of cars and bought a dedicated LPG car. But now that's stopped because Ford stopped production several years ago. That infrastructure now is legacy infrastructure, which is more costly to keep. It's actually cheaper just to rip it out and get rid of it than it is to keep maintaining it. So there's going to be a real step change, as Russell shows in those graphs, where and you see this in Norway. I forget the pure EV market share is it 80%?
95%, and that doesn't include non-plug-in hybrids. So non-plug-in. So I think Petrol is like 2.2%. Diesel is something similar, and then non-plug-in hybrids. But pure electric vehicles and plug-in hybrids account for 95% of new car sales in Norway in the last quarter.
And Amsterdam.
And there are petrol stations that have completely converted to EV. So some of them will do the transition where they will pull out a couple of Bowsers and put a couple of fast DC chargers in their place. But there are many sites that have actually converted to pure EV. They still have the convenience store, so you can buy milk for twice the price and all that sort of stuff. But they are converting. So just as, you know, every town had farriers and hay storage facilities and watering facilities for horses, they all converted to have petrol and whatever. Those petrol facilities will convert to electricity. And as Pete said, there's more electricity around than there is petrol.
So to back up the point that Harold just made, you go to a shopping centre in Norway and there'll be 4 levels of parking, and 3 of the 4 levels will have EV chargers. But it's not like you'll have, you know, a few EV chargers on that level. Every single parking spot on those 3 levels will have a charger. So, and it even goes to, you'll go to a yacht club, and in the whole of Perth, we don't have a single electric charger for a boat. There isn't one anywhere on the water, anywhere in Perth. But there are yacht clubs in Norway where there'll be, there'll be 4 jetties, and 3 of the 4 jetties will have all chargers.
Yeah, there's something you need to add to that, though. In Norway, they've traditionally had power points on all parking stations so you could plug your car in to stop it freezing. So the electrical reticulation's been there for a long time.
Yes, but the chargers... they had to upgrade those chargers. So, the most you'd get is a trickle charge from those chargers, So, if you want to be charging at 20, 30, 40 kilowatts, it just wasn't built for that.
In fact, I agree, but I'm just making a point. There was a lot of infrastructure to start with.
Actually, Norway was one of the hardest places to actually do fast DC charging because it's got it's effectively 110 volts per phase, 3-phase. So I think they call it 230 volts 3-phase, whereas our 3-phase is phase to phase is 415. So they've actually had more severe grid issues than, say, Australia, because their natural 3-phase voltage is actually a lot lower than even ours. So even though, yes, there are a lot of those small, 1 kilowatt outlets or whatever it is, probably 1,500 watt outlets for the purpose of keeping your car, your engine warm in winter. Fast DC high power outlets were quite lacking. And Norway's had to basically pull themselves up by the bootstraps to install that infrastructure. And they have, and they've had the most, you could say, severe, if you want to call it that, uptake of EVs. The uptake has been so strong, but they've proven that the world doesn't end. You don't melt your grid. Life moves on, and everyone can charge their car properly.
Yeah, and in terms of the power usage, there's 2 parts to that. Firstly, the amount of power that people are bitching and moaning about that electric cars might cause to the grid is actually less than an air conditioner. So it's already capable of it. And secondly, the inevitability, BP have already come out and said they're at peak oil. So in terms of their oil delivery, they're not expecting to be in a situation where they're providing more oil to the world anymore. That's it. That's peak oil for them at the moment.
So backing up Russell's point, the average car in Western Australia does 38 kilometres per day, if that car is a Model 3, it'll consume about 150 watt hours per kilometre. That's 5.7 kilowatt hours. Let's call it 6 kilowatt hours for a car per day. And as Russell said, that's less than the cost of an air conditioner.
Yeah.
It's the energy consumption, the efficiency is equivalent to roughly about 1.5 litres per 100 kilometres for a ICE equivalent energy use. In terms of your earlier question about what happens if there's 50% more EVs on the road, are we going to not be able to charge? Tesla, it's their policy for the rollout of the superchargers to outpace their growth in EV deliveries. And that's saying something because their growth in EV deliveries, they're hoping for 60% this year. And that's because they've been slowed down by Corona. But last year was 89% year on year growth in production and deliveries.
So Pete, what was their percentage when Harold took his car in Perth and rollout of high-speed delivery? What percentage?
In March
just out of
2017,
curiosity.
there was no supercharger.
That's right. So they're working on what, 0% then?
There was no service centre. There was a part-time tech who just got hired, but 2 months later left. They had no service centre, no premises. They were borrowing premises from a company called McCarthy Prestige. There was nothing. There was literally nothing.
And that's not bad when you buy a car that a part of the arrangement is unlimited lifetime charging of the car.
Yeah, for which there was no supercharging at all.
For 5 years.
But that was...
Okay. Anyway, let Tom... Tom's
go,
trying
Tom.
to talk, guy.
Just quickly...
Pete, let him talk.
Go, Tom.
Go, Tom. I've got it.
Sorry. Thank you, everyone, for all your answers. I have some more questions, but I love just listening to you talk about this. You're obviously very enthusiastic. So, would you like that every traditional fueling station had a fast charger? Would that be a good situation for you? So you could just go down south or up north and stop and charge whenever you needed to?
Absolutely.
It depends where it is. It depends where it is. I mean, if you feel like the metro area fast charges, it's not going to be utilised to the extent that a fuel station would, because people who live in the city, they charge at home. Unless you live in an apartment or something, then you don't have the functionality. But is there anything for the regional areas where it's an issue where you're staying out of your normal premises? So anything outside the metro area, if every single fuel station had DC charging, that'd be fantastic. Like, that'd be the way to go. But spending money in the metro areas doesn't really serve the same function as what a traditional fuel station would.
Absolutely.
So adding to that, what Peter was talking about from last week, etc., is the design of the fuel station lends itself to charging when you stay attached to your trailer or caravan.
Yeah,
and that's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So Tom, just have a look on TOCWA, TOCWA.org.au. That's the club's website. And there's an article there and some photos that show how we need to rethink the way we design the layout of the charging stalls because it's inefficient the way it's done at the moment.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Thank you for that.
So Tom, I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
Whereabouts in Beirut are you right now? Because your internet just sounds so terrible.
I'm sorry, I'm not in Beirut. I'm actually living in Colombia with my wife. So in South America.
There you go.
And
Cool.
I'm conducting my MBA with the top entrepreneurship university in Spain. And so I travel back and forth and do a lot online.
Oh,
and I'll
nice.
be back in Perth later this year. And we
Beautiful.
plan on thinking about getting a Tesla. So obviously it takes some time. And my perfect situation is working for a big battery manufacturer in WA, which there are a few popping up in the future. And so I'm hoping to be within this space for a long time. And I just want to understand the problem so I can think about a solution.
Yeah, just put your order now, Tom.
Yeah, what is it? So by the
You're
time you-
not here to get your car.
Another question is anyone excited for the Cybertruck? I mean, we lived in Australia. In Perth, we have a semi-regional property in Rollestone in the Hills, and it would be really useful to use it as well.
So
But I'm
hands up
keen on
who's-
something like that.
Hands up, who's got a Cybertruck reservation?
Wow.
There you go.
There you go. Hands
Yeah.
up, more than one reservation.
I got one.
I got two.
Have you got two, Richard?
Really?
You capo.
I got two.
Have you got two, Russell?
Yeah.
Why?
Harold and me. Tomorrow, Harold, you and me too.
No, I'm going to get a semi. I'm going to get a Tesla semi. So,
That's when the stock goes up. Boom, boom.
well, it's not doing
You know
that.
what the
so-
price is going to be, Harold?
You're going to get yours wrapped,
Any
Damon?
news on price?
Price of what, Jared?
Semi?
Oh, yeah, cheap.
Oh, here
Was
we go.
it 200,000 US?
tops,
Yeah.
absolute tops. And
Sure.
I've been told that like a Kenworth or whatever normal prime
Yeah, yeah.
mover easily
Four-
costs
450.
350
Oh, more. 450.
or
Yeah.
450.
Yeah, yeah. They're huge.
Got to be cheap then.
Yeah, absolutely.
Depends on the
We're
fit
talking
out, the
about-
tanks and the.
200 times 1.81.
Yeah, up to 400.
362.
I have
Is that a
another
question? Did you write that question in the chat, or is that? Is that you, Tom, that wrote that question?
Which
That's a
one?
different Tom.
No, different
Oh,
one.
that's different, Tom.
Okay.
Yeah, it was me.
All right. Cool.
So,
Just
Okay,
quickly,
the
while we're
question-
talking about semis, so to refuel a semi-trailer truck, correct me guys if I'm wrong, but apparently it takes about 15 minutes. So you got to stand there with your hand up.
Depends
No,
what.
no.
No.
You
It's
just
longer than
click,
that, buddy.
click the gun and it stays on, and you leave the truck running.
Well, that's legal.
You leave the
That's
truck
legal.
running. You don't turn it off. Go down to BP Dale and watch them fill up there. They drive
But-
up. They leave the truck running. They put the click on that, and then they click on the other side, and whatever tank fills up, they know it's clicked.
Yeah.
That's illegal. They're not supposed to do that.
Well,
No,
they do
it
it every
depends the
time
size
they
of
do
the
it.
truck.
Every
Depends the
time
size
they
of
do
the.
it.
Oh, Jesus. Depends the size of the truck.
Oh, yeah.
Depends which truck.
I'm talking about the
Depends on how
Qdale
long it'll take.
Roadhouse. The Qdale Roadhouse.
Yeah.
So getting to
Yeah, but Pete, if you're in Tasmania and your starter motor's broken, you got no choice. You got to do it.
Oh, they just leave it. It's easy to turn it on, leave it running.
So looking
Keep it
at
in
price,
turning
the price of the biggest semi is 180,000 US.
Yep.
So if you just take that, because we've got an FTA with them,
Times
worst
by
case, it's about
1.81.
250. It's about 250 grand. Maybe let's uplift
Oh.
it to maybe 300. with a
It'll be
bit of, you know,
325 because normally ours is 1.81.
Oh no,
That's
you
how you
change
sort
that.
of work it out.
It's going to be about 4 million Australian dollars when we change with the
No
change
way.
rate. You get a bed with that, Harold, or what?
Got about 500
To
kilowatt
pump?
hours, don't
So,
they?
That'll be so cool, man.
That'll do 800 kilometers range at 40 tons total capacity, or 80,000 pound total
Top speed?
payload. The top speed's adequate. It'll be 100. Well, sorry, I think
100,
it semi
100.
has to be 90 or 100.
100.
100. And
So
then it has
got a governor on it.
specs. It has got specs like it does
0 to 120
0
seconds.
to 100 k's an hour in 20 seconds with
Although-
80,000 pounds, like 40 tons.
Although,
And
Harold,
also- go on.
I've got one question for you. I go back to those specs. I have got one question. I do remember driving across the Nullarbor at 3 o'clock in the morning in a truck, and a semi was coming up behind me, and he said, "Mate, he said, no worries, mate, just come around the side of me." And he overtook me, and he had 3 trailers on, and he was 57 meters long, and I was doing 105. I never took my foot off the accelerator, and he overtook me and went faster than me, and within a couple of minutes he was gone.
So
What sort of speed was that?
Rob Dean has the answer to that because when we were in Kaigurna, he was talking to a truckie who had an old Kenworth that's had its 5th motor rebuild because the 40-year-old truck bodies, or the prime movers, they have grandfathered the old-fashioned clauses, which is you don't need a speed limiter, you don't need electronics, all that sort of speed governing or whatever. So it's in their interest to rebuild them, because this truckie claimed he could get to 150 k's an hour.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me.
On the big old-fashioned motors.
Yeah.
So
well, as you know, in Saguna, that there's no police on the road after 7 o'clock at night.
That's right, because
it's against their occupational health and safety.
Exactly, because there's too many kangaroos and other things on the road. So go, Tom, go and ask.
Yeah,
questions.
another one. So if let's assume that one day each traditional charging station, or so each traditional refueling station had an EV charger or a couple of fast chargers, would you be willing to pay a bit more than you do at fast chargers at the moment because there'd be more of them, or would you want to pay much less because there'd be more supply?
It's going to be free. It's going to be free because there's going to be so much abundance of energy, of solar and wind and everything, that no one's going to be able to charge for electricity because everyone's going to get it for free. It's going to be like so cheap.
I mean,
I tell you what, Tom, I'll come in the service station and I'll buy a chocolate bar and I'll buy an icy pole.
The cost would have to be
$1 a kilowatt hour.
The cost would have to be comparable or slightly less than the Tesla superchargers. For people to go there.
If there's a charger, in the middle of nowhere, we're more than happy to pay $1.50, $2 a kilowatt hour.
Correct.
Pete's right.
Okay.
That's the cost is not. I mean, we're already saving so much money on maintenance.
Exactly.
From solar at home.
When you're rural, you just want to charge and you don't care how much it costs, pretty much.
If you're in the middle of nowhere, such as here, so if you're at Nullarbor Roadhouse, and you were given a choice to have free charging and spend 3 hours there, or pay $1 or $2 or even $3 a kilowatt hour, and be there for 20 minutes, well, what are you going to do?
Take my money.
Do you know, actually, that's how I think it's going to go. I reckon eventually, like 22 kilowatt, or 11 kilowatts, just going to be free. But if you want 500 kilowatt, you're paying $2 a kilowatt hour, but you're going again very quickly. I reckon that's how it's going to go.
Well, that's happening now.
You're still paying $13 for a dim sim.
Hang on, if you go to Margaret River,
Exactly.
if you go to Margaret River, which I was at a couple of weeks ago, you have the option of paying for it and fast charging, or not paying for it and AC charging. It's there right now. It's already happening.
Exactly.
Yeah,
true. Yeah, good point.
And
Good point. That's at Karen up as well.
Yeah.
Except
Paul's other house.
1 to 6.
Paul's mobile address.
So Shell, I got a fuel station in the UK in Fulham that they ripped out all the fuel tanks and put in all EV chargers, and they've revamped it with the restaurant and whatnot. Have a look on the internet. They've got real nice pictures of the Fulham charging station.
Can you put it in the chat, please, Damon, and I'll pop it up.
I can grab it for you.
And another one to look at is GridServe in the UK. I think they've just opened their second one. This is a dedicated, it was never a fueling station. It's just a charging hub at a key location, and they've got all the main shops like Safeway and Tesco Express and all this. Yeah, there you go.
Nice.
And they've got battery storage on site as well as off grid.
But
they've generally
think
got
about
solar somewhere
trailers.
near.
Do they anything about trailers, Pete? Get them.
Don't worry about trailers.
Get them,
Well,
they're not trailer friendly, Pete. We're not going there.
No.
Their first one was.
They're not trailer. It's a bloody British. That's what it is. It's an English thing. There's no fish and chips. Not going there. It's not on.
Exactly. They've got to have a good cup of tea. Builder's tea.
Pete,
Cup
in
of
all
tea.
seriousness,
Cup of
do you think
tea.
they'll ever have a DC extension cord?
Oh.
Don't see why not. Tesla have made one for their own purposes.
So
for the
you need
semi.
a DC extension cord, and that's the end of your problem. But it's got to carry 6.
Not really, Richard. So, let's say I was at E10. So I don't know if you can put that photo up again, Harold, and you can see where I was spread eagled across 4 charging bays. Even if I had a DC cable, wouldn't help me there's just no way, no place to put the car, and you can't, you know, you can't pull a DC cable across the road and have cars driving over it. So, here
Oh,
it is.
no, sorry, Ethan. That
Bit
was
lower.
down.
Low, baby.
Was it that trail looks like
There we
something?
go. No, Eton, there.
Eton, yeah.
So even if I had a DC cable there,
yeah,
I mean, yeah, I mean,
Hey,
wouldn't
what did you
help.
have in that? What did you have in those when the trailer greyhounds or something? Like miniature greyhounds or something? Were you transporting?
No, I had all the kids' bloody luggage. Last time we went to Kalbarri, the Model 3's just, I mean, it's got so much storage space, but the kids were used to, you know, a Land Cruiser basically, or the Lexus, which is even bigger than Land Cruiser. So, and you know, towing a caravan. So, you know, they just found that they were a bit too squashed in amongst all the luggage. So that trailer was perfect. We put everything in there, and yeah, it was perfect. But yeah, shoot through the.
Seeing that picture, Pete, you
You
really
put a lot of ball weight on there.
need to get a hitch like this, mate. A little.
Yeah, you need to come up, Pete.
Yeah.
You're putting a lot of weight on the ball.
That's not an expensive little item.
It's in the dark, Richard. Right
Yeah.
yourself up a bit.
Okay, there you go. Try
you
that
can see
again.
Who keeps a tow ball in their side armrest?
Oh, I don't. I have it in my attic, brother.
It was in his prison wallet, Jared.
It's prison wallet.
It's obviously never been used there, River.
Oh, God.
No, I
Never
haven't.
been used.
I've not used that.
I keep a
Told you that,
PowerPoint.
no.
His prison wallet.
I've only towed bikes with mine.
Oh, Russell, that's classic. Classic.
But just back,
Deadpool
the
2.
point I made before about power, I know it seems pretty outlandish, but in all seriousness, like in my lifetime, maybe 2050, there's going to be an abundance of power. Like there'll be so much power that we're not going to know what to do with it.
Yeah, it's
and
true.
have to pay for power is going to be nonsensical at that point in time.
I heard some really sad news today that in Amsterdam that they've pulled out the red light district out of Amsterdam.
Oh.
Completely shut it down, and you know, there's still a lot more EV charging stations, but there's just no red light district. So
But they're drawing too much power there, Jared.
maybe they were. Maybe there was too much power fluctuation. That's what it could have been. But it's a true story. I heard it today. They've closed it down in Amsterdam, which is very strange because, you know.
So talking about power now. So energy, Russell.
Yeah, it
Your
seems
point was.
I think you've bored Tom there. He's walked off. So anyway, I might have to revigorate the
I'm
conversation.
here.
No, he's back.
So in terms of
Cost can change.
scale of infrastructure required to actually power a given area, the Perth metro area is around say 6.5 or 6,800 square kilometres. Essentially, all of Australia could be powered by solar panels of the size of 5,000 square kilometres. That would power all of Australia's energy needs. So
to put it another way, the amount of sunshine that hits the earth in 1 hour would be enough to produce the electricity that the whole globe requires for the whole year.
Yeah.
So how do we get the sun to stay on at night? There's a question.
no, but the sun's around somewhere in the night, like it's you're everywhere. So if there's an interconnected grid system that traverses like greater distances and storage, not just battery storage, but things like hydraulic storage and things where they can release power through stored liquids and things like that. They can be instant ramp ups and things. Those sorts of technologies can run whenever. They don't need to be when the sun's on.
What about the tracking side of things when they track the sun? Like in America, they make those
It's a waste. It's a waste.
Don't
You
need
just
to.
buy more panels and you just
Yeah.
don't bother.
And they break. So if it doesn't track, then you get inefficiency. So
It's only 15% boost anyway.
No, it's more than
Shoot
that.
me down. I was just curious. That's all.
It's more than that. But
Take him outside and smack his body.
Oh, tempting.
I know.
I did a number about 10 years ago, and I looked at getting a single dual axis or a single axis tracker, and I even looked at panels with passive tracking that had rather than the silicon being flat, it was in tubes.
Yeah.
And just the tubing of the silicon would double the efficiency. So from roughly about 18% to close to 40%.
Pools used to heat up their water. Some pools are using that same technology to heat their water up on the roof.
Yeah,
I was talking about that.
tubing.
That's solar thermal versus
That's different.
photovoltaic. Yes, that works on heat rather than light.
Yeah,
But even 10 years ago, the equation started shifting towards just having more panels rather than tracking. And then would have been a good 6-7 years ago, where unless your panels would have otherwise been facing south in Australia or in the southern hemisphere, so directly away from north. So even an east or a west facing panel wasn't worthwhile tilting towards the sun. Just the cost of the tilt frames, it'd be cheaper just to put in more panels if you had the roof space. So the people don't realise how cheap solar panels are. If you were to buy a whiteboard for a business or a school or what have you, you could actually get a solar panel that makes electricity. A whiteboard is just a bit of aluminium, painted aluminium, but the whiteboard would cost you twice as much as the panels for the same surface area.
And this stage, you'd be waiting at least 3 months for it because of COVID. So it'd be a delay because there'd been a ship coming from Europe and the ship would cost 10 times more price. So the price would be a lot more expensive.
Pete, I've got flat panels on my roof and I was going to do that on the new house as well. And the advice I got was to tilt them to help keep them cleaner. And that the dust and build
Tom,
up.
No.
Unless you have pretty much
still got to clean them.
I mean, what's your roof pitched at? Do you know? Is it?
Oh, the roof's a single curvature, single piece of tin curved over a truss, if you like. So it bends. It's pretty much flat, but it bends both ways. And they were proposing to put them up at 15 degrees, which
perfectly fine. Not worthwhile getting tilt frames to go to an extra 10 degrees. What you can do, if it's the parts of the roof where it's fairly flat, you can, so Clenergy, for example, so that's the manufacturer that manufactures the railing. So they're able to, if it's a flat roof, you're able to lift the back leg if you put that right up the top, and because each one of the L feet has a bit of play in it, and the front one, if you put it right down the bottom, you can achieve 3 degrees. So and that's just pretty much any L foot will do that. So so you'll get 3 degrees without tilt frames.
So Tom, are you putting older Tom, more than senior Tom, should I say? Are you putting a battery on at all?
2.
Yeah, anyone that puts solar on now that doesn't have a battery is just what a waste. It's just crazy. You need a battery.
Yeah, that's good. It was really the cleaning issue that was.
Just get the hose out, give it a spray with the hose.
I've got panels at 3 degrees at my house because I've got a pretty flat low level pitch on one of my roofs at the lower level, and I can actually see the panels from my bedroom window, and I do notice the dirt on there. However, having said that, the other panels we've got which are angled, I can still see dirt on those too. What does happen, I find that if there's a light rain, the dirt seems to settle on the lip of the panel at the bottom. But the panels I have don't really get affected the same way as the cheaper panels. So if there's blockages on some of them, it doesn't actually run out the whole of that grid. You still get each individual cell producing energy. So it's not really a big issue.
That's so have you got sun powers?
I've got what are they called? I can't remember. I'll look them up. I can't remember what they're called, but yeah, they're the ones that work in both directions. So each cell does the same thing.
Yeah, there's it's only
Maybe the inverter, SMA inverter edge.
It's only the E series and the X series, and to a lesser degree, the P series of the SunPowers, where each cell effectively can function independently of the others. But every other panel will have 3 or 6 bypass diodes. So if one cell is shaded, either 2/3 or 5/6, the 1/3 or 1/6 of the panel is, severely underperforming.
And so, Tom, what company are you getting to do the installation?
Well, it's being done by the builder, and his company that was going to do it has just gone belly up. So
I was about to say, Tom, don't get your builder to do it. I've been in the industry for 11 years, and 90% of the systems that we had to rip out and redo were done through a builder, because the builders, they don't obviously understand solar, and they don't have the time to look into it and what have you, and they're not really that interested in it. They're only doing it because you've asked for it.
Yep.
So what they'll do is, because if you don't know anything about it, you'll only go by price, because that's the only thing that you know anything about. And for them, they see it as a commodity. One panel is the same as another panel, and they'll scour the earth to find the cheapest installers and the cheapest panels. In Europe and in the US, it's not much of an issue, but in Australia, because we sell China all our dirt, we've got to buy their electronics as well. And look, there's some really great, my wife's Tesla's made in China. It's a brilliant car. My phone is made in China. It's a brilliant phone. But
And
there's
the
some real rubbish that comes out of there too.
Yeah.
We're a bit of a dumping ground for the nasty, cheap Chinese panels. And a lot of them, you'll find
Catch on fire.
there is, they'll honour the warranty for 3 or 4 years. And as soon as the warranty claims start to become meaningful, they'll just Phoenix the company, which is where all they do is just change the name, keep everything the same, even the building, and just start up under a different name. So that happens all the time. So
I've got the SunPower Maxion, Pete, it says on my thing.
So that's the equivalent of the X series. So so
Good
like I
panels,
said,
Russell.
that's pretty much the best and also the most expensive panel on the market.
So they did the Geraldton Sun Farm in Geraldton.
I like I like the finer things in life. That's all. I don't like to take. That's why I bought a Tesla.
Yeah, right.
So Russell, your 5,000 square kilometres, what was that required to power? Well, that was required to power what? Was that all of Australia or Perth?
No, Australia.
Australia. So 5,000 square kilometres of solar arrays would power Australia. So
that's deduced from the number that Musk gave to power the US.
Yes. So if we'll just scale this. So that's all of Australia.
Based on the population of 26 million, that's what I read it off.
That's the square metre. That's the area that you would need. Oh, sorry.
You're not sharing.
Sorry.
Yeah, not sharing.
This is Australia.
Yep.
And that's the total area, if you put it all in one spot, that you would require in the middle of nowhere.
That scales can't be right.
That's prime real estate, that is.
That is right.
No,
because
it's
see on the
right
lower
because-
left.
Sorry, can I ask how many hectares is that? What what's the
It's,
well, yeah, because
there you go.
it matters. It matters because
500,000 hectares.
It's just near
Wow,
Geraldton.
yeah.
It's not far.
So just
1.2 million acres.
It's also 1.244 million acres.
You do it in furlongs at all?
That's what I said.
Is there an IGA nearby?
It's
What about-
54. It's 54 billion square feet. There's a lot
You
of
doing
feet.
you doing light years for me,
So-
Harold? How many light years?
just to sorry guys, just the reason I was asking, and you don't know this, but I was involved in planning of a really large mining company's solar array.
Yep.
So I understand like the sort of sizing requirements, and that does seem accurate. That's why I was asking.
No, it's much
Yeah,
smaller.
so 500,000 hectares,
Oh,
basically.
Wow, it's a lot.
Would you have to mow that land?
No.
Oh,
The size of Tasmania will do the whole of the United States.
Yeah, I could believe that. And there's a lot more
Yeah.
people in Tasman. So that I'm sure that's too big, Harold. Might be much.
No, it's not. No, it's not. See
So how-
here. See this.
How long?
This is that square. The area is 5,000 square kilometres.
Yeah.
So how long's one side?
Well, the perimeter is 283 kilometres.
So
So
70.
divide that by 4.
Yeah, square root it.
So just square root it.
No,
Simple.
perimeter.
The perimeter is
Oh,
283. So divide by 4 is 70 kilometres, and if you square that,
Yep.
that's 5,000 square metres.
You're telling me
Square
that's 70
kilometres.
kilometres.
Yeah, that's 70 k's.
Okay.
For scale, let's
Yeah.
look at Mandurah is here.
You're 70 k's away.
It's 70 k's. And we zoom across to that square if I can find it. There it is. It's not big.
Because Tasmania is like 70,000 square kilometres in
Yeah,
terms of
and this is-
overall land
yeah.
area.
Yep. So as Russell demonstrated, it's pissant. It's nothing. It's
It's
such a
not much.
small, and don't forget, if you've got all these places in the cities, you can just put solar panels on all these roofs,
And you're done.
and
Which
you're
they're pretty
done.
much- yeah, they're done anyway. Most of them have got solar panels.
Well, a lot of these
And the
don't, but
businesses.
yeah.
Oh,
Actually, if you go
that's
down
that's
south-
Bob Hole. That's old maps. That one.
Yeah, it's an old
Yeah,
map.
they've taken that out. It's been
But
updated.
anyway, but like Russell's point is, it's not about and getting back to having frames to angle panels. The panels are so cheap. Just lay them whichever way your roof goes. It just doesn't.
And put
matter.
as many as you can on,
Exactly.
and as big a wattage, the better. Tom.
Solar powered United States. I think he actually did this in Adelaide. He had a talk to do a SpaceX, and I think he also described solar power as
What
well.
batteries you putting on, Tom?
Teslas.
Oh, good work. Just
The,
the two.
2,000 square miles.
Just the two, Tom.
Just two. Yeah.
And in terms of cost, it makes
Is it a
no sense.
three-phase house?
Sorry.
Have you got a three-phase house?
Oh hell yeah. Yeah.
Right. So it's
Yeah.
going to be unbalanced.
Oh
In terms
yeah.
of-
It will be.
In terms of
Yeah.
cost, like mass producing electricity as well, it makes no sense economically to actually install or create new fossil fuel plants. The only reason why they're viable at the moment is because they get $22,000 a minute worth of subsidies from the government. The large battery cells that got put in the Tesla cells in South Australia actually recovered all the costs of installation within the first 2 years of them being operational, and it was fully paid back, and they're making a profit within 2 years with zero subsidies from.
Isn't the opposition? Isn't the opposition saying they're going to put in 12 suburbs of Tesla community battery cells in Western Australia? I heard that the other day, that they were going to put in 12.
They have to turn them off because they're too noisy.
Oh, really? Too noisy.
That's happened.
Oh, in summer they hum a little bit. That's all. Nothing. You know, not going to Peppermint Grove, Richard.
One of the suburbs. had-
Harold, you're muted.
One of them was.
Unless
So,
you're doing
Tom,
something.
have you got any more questions?
Sorry, Tom.
While he's eating his dinner.
Hey,
Yeah,
Tom, yeah, from Builder.
It's breakfast in Bogota, isn't it? What's that?
What time is it,
It's
mate?
breakfast. It's my breakfast. Yeah.
Who's in the munching belt?
No
Don't
more.
choke. Don't choke.
Have,
Don't choke.
have a look at
Maybe-
this map on Starlink.
Colombia.
You don't have Starlink
Starlink,
yet, but your friends in Brazil do in parts. But that's something
Whereabouts
you
in
should keep an
Colombia
eye
are
on.
you, Tom? Whereabouts? Are you near El Guapo? the drug
Medellin.
lord?
Yeah,
Whereabouts?
Medellin.
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 Bring the map up, Harold. Where's that? Is that just near
Right here.
El Guapo, the Colombian? That's Medellin there. Yeah,
So
right.
Medellin is where,
Pablo Escobar lived.
Hey, you're right near
Pablo
Bargo, Boga, yeah, Bogota.
Bogota.
Bogota,
Anyway,
that's the-
Yeah, so go. So
no
go,
more,
go-
no
go,
more
Tom.
specific questions. No more specific questions.
Oh,
but I
thank
would love
God.
to receive. I would love to receive some emails if you want to send them to me, so I can perhaps send you some follow-ups individually. Only if you want to. be comfortable. I really valued listening to you and asking some questions today. It's been really, really good. Now I'm also very happy that I found this group because everyone seems very switched on, understands their technology, and this is exactly what I want to be a part of. So thank you.
A lot of us just got out of therapy, Tom. Don't be too fooled. So,
This is our therapy.
some of us are
It's
coming
our
from
day
some
release.
strange-
That's right.
Can I make a point
Yeah, the
about
wife
range?
already relegated. Why do you
I
think
mean,
I'm
Russell's
in the
got
car?
Russell hasn't pulled out he's pulled out
You're-
his stats, but he hasn't pulled out his props yet. Wait till you see his props, then you'll know he's about his stats.
I got more stats about that. Anyway,
It's all going up.
range anxiety, Tom. The difference as well, it can be broken up into two different categories, like I said before. The Tesla vehicles are far more superior in the technology and the functionality, which means the anxiety for us would be far less in the same circumstances as someone with a different vehicle, I would assume. Not having one of those, but I would just assume that. Now, the technology I'm talking about is the accuracy of the route planner that we have in our cars means that before we leave our house, we know exactly what to expect along the journey and what to do on the way back as well.
I could speak that, but recently a very, very serious professional person who writes for Ahead of Some Curve missed a turnoff and caused a major drama because he had that high technology in his car saying turn right, but he missed that turn off. So how do you explain that one?
Was actually a turn
Oh,
left.
It was a
but-
turn left. Did you know the guy, do you?
Yeah,
Pete?
but
Ahead of the curve.
I added 30 kilometers to that journey and got there with 5%, but yeah, at 1:30 in the morning. So
So that caused a little bit of range anxiety.
It did. Yeah, I must admit it did. Yeah. I mean, it was no dramas. We just had to drop the speed and, we were right. But, at 1 o'clock in the morning, the missus wasn't finding it funny. Let's put it that way.
No.
So the actual anxiety associated with running out of fuel as such, I guess could be heightened because there's less facilities to charge than what acceptably you would have for petrol or diesel powered vehicles. However, knowing exactly how far you're going to get is far superior than my old car I used to have, where I'd fill it up and go, I don't know, I might get that far, but who knows? I'll stop at petrol station along the way just because I can, or am I going to make it? The fuel gauge is about here. What's that even mean? Like, there's no real predictive. With mine, it says it takes into account my current speed, the road surface, the temperature, the elevation, the wind direction. That all is calculated in the car to give you a more accurate estimation of how far you're going to be able to travel before you run out of battery.
And it keeps
But
you
also,
can check it anytime you like. You can
For
see how
me
you're going.
personally,
I'm
sorry.
using more or less. That's what I found on my trip.
me personally, I haven't had any range anxiety at all. And I've done multiple trips down south. I don't even carry a spare going down south. These other guys have probably definitely done more remote trips than that. But the last I've ever had was 120 k's range left in when I got home. I've never had any range anxiety whatsoever because there's always somewhere to charge. That's for Southwest.
You just got to plan your trip, just like a truck driver plans his trip. He knows
is-
which restaurant he wants to stop at, which place does really good dim sims. He knows where to go. Same
When
thing.
you,
just
when you
plan
get
your
to
trip.
a Shell, when you get to a Shell service station and it looks like this, well, EVs will be the same as petrol cars.
Exactly.
That's all it needs to look
There's
like.
some nice pictures further down. Scroll down.
Tom, I had to recently buy a Toyota Hilux.
Oh, nice.
Tom? Hey, Tom?
Yeah.
I had to recently buy a Toyota Hilux only because I have a camper trailer to tow the camper trailer. Otherwise, I would have never, ever bought a petrol or diesel car ever again in my lifetime. And that will definitely be the last time. And one of the sales guys showed me, he pulled out the phone. He said, mate, you've got to get the Toyota app because it's such a powerful app. And I said, really? He said, it shows you where the cheapest fuel is and when there's fuel specials on and all these things. I pulled out my phone. I said, mate, can I turn the air conditioning on from Netherlands to Belmont? He said, no. I said, can I open the trunk from up in a plane at 35,000 feet in the air? He said, no. It's not such a powerful app after all, is it?
Yeah, Jared, I got a phone call today from somebody who's doing some work on the car, and they said, would you please open the front?
Yeah.
There you go. 100%. Yeah, it's a much more intelligent car than any Any car that I've driven. you know.
I'm
So
monitoring the
then-
doors open when my wife's going shopping, and I honk the horn on her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually,
I do that
actually,
a couple of times.
Actually, I've got a new story to tell you, and this is a true story. Last Sunday, we went down to, I don't know, Roona, and we pulled up in Pinjarra, parked the car. This is a true story. Parked the car on the street, and in front of a Toyota Sahara or whatever it was in front of us, an old one. And the guy got out of the car, opened up the back door right in front of my car to change his shirt, opened up the other door. We're in the cafe across the road. The car alarm goes off. I get a notification to the car, run back to the car thinking it's been damaged. All this guy was just changing his shirt, set off the whole car alarm. And I got it on footage. Like the guy just shat himself, like the car's bloop, bloop, bloop. And then notification on the phone, bang, we're there. It was like, I was like, that's impressive. Good security.
Now, I understand this is a Tesla club, but does anyone here own any other type of EVs? Or plug-in hybrids?
We've got 2 Teslas, but we also still have the Holden Volt, which is a plug-in hybrid. And before we had the 2 Teslas, we had the Holden Volt and the Mitsubishi Outlander plug-in hybrid. But John Edwards, who was here earlier, he's got a Kona as well. And I think Paul's got...
I've got an IME, and before that I had a converted Ford Focus that had 100 kilometers range, and that was fine for the city.
I got a Ryobi whippersnapper and a Ryobi Edger and a steel blower.
Richard, Harold, can you spotlight
Sorry?
Richard Chapman?
And I've never had a better battery vehicle than the Tesla.
Can I what? Sorry.
Spotlight Richard Chapman, please.
Oh, he's got his motorbike.
You got it back.
He's got it back. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
4 pages of software. 3 rounds of software updates, and I got the Harley back. So yeah, Tom, that's a Harley Davidson Livewire. So I use it every day for commuting to work.
Richard, one of those big bags of white powder in the background there, Richard.
For Tom's
that's to pay for the Livewire.
What's going on here? Some sort of meth lab going on here, are we?
You got to pay for it somehow.
Somebody's boots.
So for Tom's benefit, this is a electric Harley Davidson.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can't actually hang out with other Harley Davidsons because it's electric. So
No, they don't like you.
They don't like you because they don't make any noise. you have to pretend like you're revving it up.
We've also got
brum,
electric
brum,
bicycles, electric scooters, all those sorts of things as well, which accompany the vehicles.
Yeah.
Electric everything. I'm getting my heat pump put in tomorrow. If everyone's up
I've
there.
got electric toaster as well. Works really well.
Yeah.
The bike only slow charges at 1.4 kilowatt. But it's fine for overnight.
But if you plug it in, Richard,
How
you've got to plug it in.
How big's the battery,
Yeah.
Richard?
15.5 kilowatt hour. But I'm actually
Oh,
trying
so
to work
10
out.
hours. So 10 hours and you're fully charged overnight. Yeah.
But I'm trying to work out. I haven't found anywhere yet where it's told me whether you actually get when it's 100% charged, it's actually 100% charged, because it's a heavy nickel content battery.
Oh.
So I'm still trying to work out whether, because I don't want it to charge to 100%, because with the heavy nickel chemistry, I only really want to keep it between 90 and 20.
Yes.
But there's no way of telling it to stop charging at 90. So unless you get up in the night.
Well, unless maybe the so-called 100 is actually 90, like they've knobbed the top end, perhaps.
And that would be great, but I haven't been able to find that anywhere. And even Harley haven't been able to confirm it because they're like, we don't know.
Hey, Richard, just put a timer. Put a timer on your PowerPoint. I've got a smart timer on a few devices that you can control from your phone.
I could do that. What I'm doing is I'm just getting it down to like when I'll get home, if I've got less than 20%, then I'll just plug it in, and then pretty much by the time that I then got to go in the morning again, it's ready. So, that's kind of how I'm doing it.
Well, not quite scheduled departure then, huh?
Yeah, nearly. Ghetto scheduled departure. But then I suppose at least the battery's nice and warm by the morning as well.
So Richard, do you know Chris Dodd? He's got a Livewire as well.
No, I know. Rob Dean was saying about that Chris has got one, but I haven't chatted to him yet.
He's probably going to be at the next EV Meets thing, which I think is at the this Saturday at Ross.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. What's it called? Ross. Oh, that's where the charger place is in Guildford.
Oh, I've
Ross's,
not even been able to think about the weekend, let alone tomorrow.
Yeah, no worries.
So, on the
thanks.
So the point about people living in a city and range anxiety is, I reckon, is non-existent for every brand of EV. A while ago, I think Pete was in a similar situation to me. We're actually trying to run our battery out for the purposes of, you know, doing testing and whatnot. And I found myself accidentally keep plugging the damn thing in all the time without realizing. It took me best part of about maybe a month to actually get it to go to zero, because I kept plugging the thing in by mistake and forgetting it was, I was meant to be draining the battery. So I guess it's, how often does your mobile phone run out of battery, I guess, is the question. Like, it never really does. It's the same as your car. You just, whenever you get an opportunity to fill it up, you might put a little bit in, you might put a lot. It's just opportunistic when you're in the city. It's not till you go on the big drives where you're actually not at home where it's the key thing. And about the Toyota example, about what Jared was talking about before, about, you know, service centers and stuff. There's an ad on TV at the moment, and every time I see it, I piss myself for different reasons. But the guy shows the map of Australia, and he's got dots all over it. He's like, "Oh, this is date night, and this is the restaurant shop or whatever." And the lady goes, "What's all those red dots?" And there's fucking hundreds of them around Australia. And he goes, "Oh, that's the Toyota service centers." And my brain immediately switched to, well, if there's that many fucking service centers around, there must be so many problems with these fucking cars, because for us, we don't have to get serviced. Why do you need 500 service centers around Australia when your car doesn't actually get serviced? It makes no sense. So they're essentially advertising their incompetence by saying we need 500 service centers around to keep these damn things running, because it's so terrible at actually surviving, let alone performing well over long periods of time.
And Toyota's the most reliable cars out there. Let's face it, they just are.
Yeah, I used to have Toyotas.
Tom, I'll give you a story about charging.
I'll have to have the same advert.
About a little while ago, I went on a trip down south with my wife, and we decided every night we stopped, we'd stay at someone who had a Tesla destination charger. And also when I went down past Eton, we supercharged. So the charging of the whole trip was totally irrelevant. It was not a problem. Didn't have to wait virtually anywhere. We charged overnight, not a problem. But I went just recently, a couple of weeks ago, and decided to go to Esperance because the guys had put in a new charger at Ravensthorpe, which made it possible, you see. That's great. But I thought, well, I don't need to, I didn't do the Airbnb business. I mean, I did Airbnb and just plugged my car in, except Margaret River was fine. Anywhere where there's a fast DC charger is not a problem. But we got caught because Ravensthorpe to Esperance and back is more than I could put in my car overnight on a 3 amp, you know, on a 10 amp charger. So I basically had to leave my car at a 7 kilowatt charger overnight, plugged in, and walk 5 kilometers in the morning to go and pick it up. Otherwise I couldn't have done the trip. But so whenever I go away again, I will always stop somewhere where there's a fast AC charger to plug overnight, just not a 240 volt outlet. So that wasn't inconvenience. That's where I charged. Yeah. So basically, if you charge overnight and fill the car up every morning, it's not a problem. If you only half fill your car and you've got a long trip to do, it is a problem.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Thank you, Richard. Could you potentially send me your email so I can talk to you about that instance?
I can do that.
Have you got email, have you, Richard? I didn't realize you're up to speed with that sort of thing.
That's low. That's a low blow.
Go on, you've got a Tesla.
You know, Russell, emails were around in the 1970s.
Yes, I was.
Along with dial-up modems.
Oh,
I tell you what, I remember in 1980 playing Lunar Lander on a thermal terminal. It had like a typewriter with a thermal paper, and it would like print out each new screen of the Lunar Lander program that had an acoustic coupler. So you got your dial up, your rotary dial phone, you hear the noise, and yeah, you then put it onto the earmuffs of the top of this typewriter sort of thing. And
so
yeah,
that was about what,
110
30 baud or something?
I thought it was 110, but I could be wrong.
Flash.
Maybe it was less. I don't know.
Starlink will be up to
Acoustic.
that soon.
Exactly.
How many more
Oh, it's
questions are we going to have to answer? Because I've got another thing can talk about. How much more you got, Tom?
Tom J.
Yeah, Tom J. You got any more questions, or because I've got some other stuff I've got a live reveal, Harold, we can do. I'm pretty excited about.
Should I pause? Do I need to pause this?
No.
No.
So you can if you want. I can do that sort of live reveal if you want, but I was going to keep it PG for the moment.
Yeah, I think Tom's busy. So Tom, you're good. You're all good. Yeah. No. Yes. Yeah.
I'm very happy now. Thank you. I've asked enough questions.
Yeah,
I got
no
some
worries.
contact details.
Yeah, feel free to lurk and enjoy the rest of the discussion.
When you do come back, when you do get back into Perth, definitely come to one of the meetups and meet up with everyone.
Yeah, I'd love to. I mean, as I mentioned, I plan on working in a big battery business, and I'm very keen. I'm an electrical engineer. I've worked with solar installations in the past, so yeah, I'm keen.
Awesome. Okay, so Russell, you've got a review. Oh, do I need to zoom in, or do I need to spotlight you?
Yeah, you can if you want. I'll do the backstory first.
Okay, so okay. Well,
you hear me all right or not?
You just tell me when to spotlight you.
Okay, so I'll walk into my garage. Hang on, I'll see what's going on. All right, so this is the setup and the live reveal. So what happened was I bought this car a while ago for my wife, the Model 3.
I'm just going to spotlight you. Hang on.
Awesome.
I'm just a warning. I'm spotlighting you.
Oh,
there we go.
And she was reluctant to drive at the start because something new or whatever. She sort of this week we're selling this car over here soon, so she's getting to know this one. And she drove it today, and when I got home, she goes, "Oh, I've got something to tell you. I scratched the car today."
Oh.
So it's like she's only been driving it for a couple of days and she scratched it. So I haven't actually seen the scratch yet. So I thought we'd do it all together.
Oh no!
To see what it's like. So,
oh no!
So she told me it's the front left-hand bumper. So we'll head around there now, and we'll have a look.
Hey Russell, before we go there, just pause there for a moment.
Yeah.
I need you to be brutally honest when you see it. Like, feel free to tell us exactly how it feels when you see it.
Oh well, I think it's going pretty up. Well, I haven't seen. Yeah, okay, all right. Yeah, no worries.
You better change that sensor rating then.
All right. Okay, so we'll come around and we'll have a look at the front left-hand side and see what we got.
That looks all right. Oh.
Yeah,
that's a flesh wound. It's.
Yeah, that's down to the paint.
That's ripped all the paint off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, a bit of touch-up paint will be fine.
It's all through here as well, on the light.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see on the picture or not, but it's all across the front here, all on this edge, and all through here, all up here as well. Oh, and up here, all up through here.
Okay, so Russell, if you just pause for a moment, and I'll show you this little screen here. It's the wrong color, but it's the same.
That unwanted acceleration.
And that is this. Oh, this is the after.
Yeah,
There's
that's
the before. There we go.
Yeah, that's the stuff.
So you need to use
the same area too.
Color and drive, same area.
If you want to bring my screen back up there, Harold, I can show you.
Hey.
I actually bought this in preparation of this event actually happening previously because I thought it was inevitable that she was going to drive it at some point.
So Russell, do you mean to say that you were going to do this live on
a while ago?
So
we're going to watch you repair it, mate.
I think we are.
And if it doesn't work, use your hole saw.
I can do at 10:30 on a Wednesday night, whatever time it is.
Oh, come on, Russell. Where's your sense of adventure?
Hey, Russell, if it doesn't work, just use your hole saw on both sides and it'll just like new vents.
You just need some vinyl wrap.
Yeah, so I don't know whether it's an insurance job or not because it's actually the whole bumper that's like, that might buff out, I guess, through here, but yeah, well, this is pretty bad.
Yeah.
Depends how good you want it, mate.
It's not so bad, mate. I'd
And
give
the,
colour.
it's across the sensor as well.
Yeah.
If you had
can't
on
really see
my
it.
eyesight,
Could be
you'd
right.
hardly see that.
Yeah.
All
right,
Just
anyway,
wait till the next one will be worse.
It's not as
Yeah.
bad as when Emma crunched our car into the upright of the carport about 3 years ago, and that was 18 grams worth of damage.
Oh.
And it was the charge port panel as well, of course.
Yeah. Well, it's
Yeah,
just
that
been
was-
christened as far as I can see. So hey.
Exactly. Hey, look! Thank God for insurance. Thank God for RAC
Actually,
insurance. In fact,
Richard, I'm gonna be back in 2 seconds and show you something that you've not seen outside of your car. Just hang on 2 secs.
We'll talk amongst
Hey,
ourselves.
hey Pete, you haven't asked me my last mod to my car.
Oh, I've got a feeling you're going to tell me.
Can we have a live reveal
What is
too,
it?
Richard?
No, it's very boring. We only had it on the early cars. You know, when you're driving at night, you put your indicators on and you get flare on your rear facing.
Oh, you said you weren't going to do that.
Yeah, well, I did it.
Is it good?
You were so adamant.
It totally fixes it, but gee, it's hard. The easy bit's fixing them. Trying to get them out without breaking them is not easy.
Yeah.
They're a pig to get out. Anyway, I fixed it.
Oh, now how long did it take you?
To actually fix it or get the lights out?
Both.
About probably 3 hours.
Richard, did I hear you say?
3 hours all up.
No, I was talking about ducks.
Oh, it didn't sound like ducks to me, Richard.
That was ducks. The ducks were in the
so
garage.
disappointed hearing that from a respected doctor like yourself saying words like that.
You got that wrong. So yeah, I fixed it. It's good, perfect, 100% fixed.
So I've got an EV hater at work for some reason. I guess there's still people who are
Anti-vaxxers.
mentally
Unvaxxed,
challenged.
Unvaxxed.
And he's always on me about how bad for the environment they are in terms of, he comes up with something new every week, and I've given him I'll do a bit of research, give him a rebuttal, and he shuts him up for a while. Anyway, he came to me the other week and he goes, EVs are bad because they're using cobalt and people are dying making cobalt, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, man, yeah, I understand your point. I'll get back to you. So
Tesla gets its cobalt from Australia.
Yeah, so I did. He was talking about worldwide supply, so I was favourable. Yeah, I know all those points. Yeah, so I did some more hardcore research about it, and what I found out was might be interesting to people as well, is that the production of actual like fuel, like oil, actually requires there's a lot of sulfur in it, and it requires about
desulfurization.
Yeah.
80,000 liters of oil requires 1 kilogram of cobalt to process sulfur. The actual cobalt itself is recovered quite considerably, but still, it requires at the end case about 1 kilogram per 3 million liters of oil. Now, in the USA in 2021, they used 100,000 tons of cobalt for oil processing, right? And in comparison, the worldwide EV usage of cobalt in 2021 was 29,000 tons. So
Really?
it's less than a third of the actual amount of cobalt has gone into electric vehicles. And at the moment, based on some conversations we had a few weeks ago about LFP batteries, that's on the decline. And you'd expect that Chinese EVs and Tesla would only really have about 5% of their vehicles in the future would have actually cobalt in them. Tesla will has zero pretty soon, but Chinese EVs will be a big part as well. But anything legacy auto like BMW, Mercedes, Volkswagen, GM, Ford, they're all going down the cobalt path with their nickel, cobalt, aluminium batteries, which are, I guess, already superseded and out of date now. So the only rise in cobalt usage is going to be from those legacy autos, which, in my opinion, are probably going to be defunct before the end of this decade and not even exist anyway. So the volume of cobalt is still going to be far less than the amount of oil refining requirements.
But the other thing, Russell, is that the oil refining requirements, that cobalt is gone, isn't it? It's consumed in the while processing that fuel, whereas the cobalt that's embodied in battery packs is recyclable.
Yeah, 100% recyclable. Yeah, and it's actually
that can be recycled.
It's cheaper to actually pull it from a battery than it is to mine it, and it's cheaper as well. And they recover about close to 100% of the volume and it's all reused. So once it's out of the ground, they can use it. But still, the point, cobalt's not good to pull out of the ground in some circumstances, like particularly in Africa. And like, I guess from an ethical point of view, it's not the right thing to be doing. So those sort of things, when you get challenged with some sort of like rudimentary, uneducated, oh yeah, I saw some, thing on ABC at 11 at night.
Sky News, not ABC.
Or whatever, Sky News, yeah.
Right.
You get this like throwaway catch lines, and all of a sudden the population's being educated on, I guess, cherry-picked facts without the supplementary, I guess, facts from the alternative opinion.
And no context.
I'm pretty sure the BBC even did a panorama thing, which is basically just a load of.
Oh, it's always the English guys bringing the BBC into play.
Absolutely.
The old BBC.
But hey, Russell, you know what would be really interesting
But this is what annoys me when it's a respected worldwide institution that I know that it comes up with a whole crock of shit sometimes, but it's still respected around the world. So that's what gets me. But Russ, well done for finding those figures, because I've had many of these discussions, but I could never actually find those figures to equate something like that in that market.
Russell, what would be really interesting to know is how much petrol is used for the pure task of transporting petrol. I know the statistic for gas.
It's a third.
Well, for gas, so you know how we have gas-led recovery after COVID. Well, for gas,
snap.
Oh, sorry. Well, let's just let Pete speak. We can't talk over each other. Sorry, go Pete.
Sorry, go Pete.
So for gas, you need a quarter of the amount of gas that you're going to be transporting, you'll be using in the transport of the gas itself. So that's 25%. So, if Australia exports like 90 million tons of gas, so 20 million of that you need just for the transport of it. So I'd love to know what that is for oil.
I think I found those stats. It's a 1/3. It is a third. Yeah, I did those stats a while ago, maybe 2 months ago. I think I had that when I had some stats about the when people were saying that because we're charging off the grid, it's worse for the environment than petrol. And I got all those stats together for that one.
Yeah. Russell, can you sort out and see how many people take up the 8 cents for the 2 chocolate bars? And what 2 chocolate bars are most popular? Is it the picnic and the crunchy, or is it just straight out the Snickers? Which ones are the most popular ones, Russell? I think we need to look at the stats on those.
Polywaffle.
On that note,
there's always someone that brings a polywaffle to the party, don't they?
All right, see you, Tom. Take care.
Yeah, did anyone have an answer to my question about the Tesla 3 batteries?
Oh yeah, sorry, I can answer that quickly for you now in summary.
I can answer that question. I've got 3.
The efficiency of the powertrain and the thermal efficiency of the batteries means that Tesla can produce equivalent range with less batteries. So that's why the battery packs are getting smaller, because the cars are getting lighter and the battery packs and drivetrains are getting more efficient.
But they're getting 82 kilowatts in the long range.
How do you find that time?
Well,
hang on, Jared.
Done the research.
So say again, Tom.
So say that again, Tom. I missed what you said there, mate.
I'm told that the long range being sold now has 82 kilowatts, not 75 kilowatt hours.
The long range doesn't run LFP yet. I think you said in your chat LIP, but I'm assuming you mean LFP.
Yeah, LFP, yeah.
The long range batteries aren't lithium, they're nickel.
Yeah.
They're not iron, they're nickel. They're NCAs.
And where's it going? Are they going to LFP or are they...
Not in the long range.
Right. Well, not right now, but I this is my personal opinion, but I feel that the improvement of technology in iron-based batteries is at a point where there's going to be very, very few vehicles that require nickel batteries. There'll be things like semis and high-power devices that are out of the ordinary. Most consumer vehicles aren't going to require nickel chemistry once the iron chemistry is at a point where the equivalency of density of energy is there, because one reason is they're half the cost, and no one's going to want to pay twice as much for an inferior product.
And in essence, it's almost going back to the future, because LFPs were the first lithium batteries. But they were really difficult in large quantities to quantify the state of charge, it was really difficult to work out where these batteries were because their voltage range is very narrow, unlike the NCAs, which is quite broad. But Tesla and others have worked out how to do this. So the disadvantages of LFPs, well, what were thought of disadvantages of energy density or power density and energy density are just not important anymore. So Tesla are really overcoming that, and they're working out that, hey, you can charge them to 100% all day, every day, and deeply discharge them without damaging them. So that in itself is a great thing to have in cars.
Yeah, Harold,
Okay.
I think we had a chat a little while ago about the capacity of the long range battery, and I'm pretty sure it was you that suggested that there is underneath the battery, if I was to jack the car up, it would have the manufacturer details of the battery pack.
There is a sticker that actually has the serial number of the battery and its revision, and it usually has its capacity as well. It's on the...
Yeah, well, I couldn't be asked doing that. So I thought I'll give the VIN to Tesla customer support and they can tell me what the capacity is. They can't. They said, no, we can't give, we don't have that information. And I said, really, I find that I don't believe you, is what I basically said in the response. You must have the bill of materials associated with my car. Please try again. And they came back and said, no, we can't give you the information. I said, well, hang on, Shanghai must be back online because it's made in China. They might have that stuff associated with the inventory and the bill of materials went into my car. Please try again. No. They asked me for a review. I said, fail. So I don't know if it's 75.
I think you're just being a difficult customer there, Steve.
Yeah, how dare I?
Can I answer Jared's chocolate bar question, because I probably have an answer for that one.
Yeah, as long as you use a prop.
Well, there's a right answer and there's another answer. So the correct answer is actually Kit Kat. The 4-finger Kit Kat is the most popular.
There's a lot of dispute on that one, Russell.
No, I can tell you the reasons why. Is because Nestle own it, and they actually source their chocolate from fair trade for only that Kit Kat. Every other chocolate I may have isn't fair trade chocolate, and they promote it to hell. That's why it's more popular, and that's why they sell more.
Hey, Russell, your wife must enjoy those romantic nights when you get together and cozy up to some stats and some bar graphs, eh? Must be so good around your house.
I just like reading stuff. That's all I do.
A pie chart will come out. Who knows what's going to happen tonight, darling? Eh?
Russell is the stat savant.
He is definitely stat savant.
I'm really good at quiz nights, actually. Like just random.
I'm not playing with you. No way.
And also, I was having a discussion with someone this week around food and stuff like that, and I started talking about Neuralink because we've got a lady at our office who's in a wheelchair, and I was telling her about, potential benefits of Neuralink in the future. And it came across to me, I guess, during the conversation that the early parts of Neuralink are going to be quite easy to do, like, your phone connects to your head and you can think about stuff and we'll type a text message or whatever. You and your friend might have a Neuralink each and you can like telepathically sort of communicate or whatever. But I thought about, in the future, because everyone's just like destroying the planet, there's going to be huge food shortages, right? So having the Neuralink be able to simulate any food you want to eat from a nutrient-rich blob or whatever you want, and make you think that that's a flavor and a texture and a feeling that you want to experience in that food, will mean that the requirement to graze cattle and all those sorts of things is going to be irrelevant, because your brain won't know the difference between a blob of just protein and a 500
blue steak.
Yeah. So that's another.
That's genius, but extend it to vision as well. You wouldn't need to furnish your house.
Yeah, you
wouldn't need to paint it. You just
Neuralink, you
see
could
this incredible
reprogram
palette.
things, yeah.
you live in.
And even
but it doesn't work, Russell. Because they've done studies with blind studies, is getting a group of people to drink full Coke and a group of people to drink the Coke without sugar. And the people that drank the Coke without sugar were still craving sugar, and they weren't getting the dopamine hit in the brain that the people that were drinking the full fat Coke were.
But couldn't you
Yeah,
simulate
but
dopamine through chemical?
Someone's trying
Well, we could. I have a question. My question is, Russ, where do you work?
What, on the weekends or during the week?
Whatever.
You don't want to know where he works on weekends.
Yeah, that's much more interesting.
You probably have to pause it, Harold. I don't really feel comfortable.
Yeah, I'm
talking
going
about
to pause it 2 seconds. So, Russell, you mentioned Neuralink. Elon Musk has actually, and this is a Teslarati article, stated that he can use Neuralink to address morbid obesity. So that's a behavioural change or a chemical change in your brain. And experts are actually, apparently, I haven't read this article, saying that's actually possible.
Well,
So-
that's the article I was reading when I was talking about it as well. That was early this week, got published, right?
Just-
24th, yeah.
Was Elon Musk in court this week, Harold, doing the Amber Heard witness or something? Didn't he have to go like that? That he knew Amber Heard and didn't know that she would be doing like little parcels in the bed, leaving for Johnny.
Where'd Tom go? I've actually got an answer for Tom, but he's buggered off somewhere.
He's
back.
Here he is.
Tom,
There he is. Back in
I've got an answer for one of your questions. You wrote here, what are you doing for increasing EV uptake in WA? Presentations or anything. There's two sides to this argument. And I think I'll let Harold or someone else answer the second part of it. But the first part of it is, in a way, in my opinion, there's no reason to have any sort of incentive or anything to increase uptake of EVs in WA, because the demand for EVs at the moment is so high that even if every single EV was came to WA like now, we'd still have people that already are in the queue to buy more. Like it's definitely a supply issue. There's
I disagree with this, but I'll tell you my point after Harold.
Yeah, so there's a 12-month wait for cars at the moment, and the vehicles coming out of China, which are also going to come to Australia, are nowhere at the point at the moment where they're going to come in any significant numbers. And also the European automakers aren't really producing much quantity. In Australia in particular, it's quite difficult because we're essentially going to be the last country in the world to get EVs because due to like tax concessions and credits and whatnot, it's not in the best interest of manufacturers who sell ICE vehicles to also sell vehicles in Australia because there's no actual benefit for them.
Plus the emission controls.
Yeah, financially. So if they sell the same vehicle in Europe, they actually get credits against their to offset their carbon emissions. Where in Australia, because there's no emissions targets or regulations and there's no fuel requirements, there's no actual motivation for any of these companies to come to Australia anytime soon. So we're dependent on the goodwill of some of those companies, but essentially Tesla has no real problem because they're all electric. So in terms of benefiting from tax credits, it's not really a thing for them. They're essentially just putting vehicles where people want them and doing them as fast as they can. But Pete's point, I guess, was something different.
Well, I just quickly agree with Russell. I think we've gone past the point of no return with EVs. I think we're already experiencing the first part of the tsunami of demand for EVs, in spite of the lack of infrastructure out in the regions. But of course, in less than 2 years, that's going to be solved by this map for all intents and purposes, mostly. But even if you ignore this map, it will be done in less than 24 months.
I don't know. Deeply skeptical.
I can just assure you, Richard, that it's going to be done in 24 months.
I hear you.
I totally assure you. But even if that wasn't the case, but it is, we've gone past. You can't drive for 10 minutes in within 30 k's of Perth and not see a Model 3 around.
I'd agree with that.
So
where I work in
just
West
can't
Perth
do
now,
it.
they are everywhere.
And the demand is just an ever increasing avalanche, in spite of some of the very marginal disadvantages at the moment, temporary disadvantages. So I think the horse is bolted. It's like, you know, everyone had horses in 1900 and no one had, well, very few had horses. Or they did. You had a horse, but you also had a Model T Ford or whatever. So go, Pete, to your argument.
I'm after you, Pete.
Oh, I got more rebuttal.
No,
wait.
Oh, okay, well, Russ, well, fair enough. So you rebut, and then Pete can unbutt or rebut or whatever.
Counterbutt
is.
I want to. He's Nigel when you want him.
Sounds
Nigel.
like the red light district.
Oh, this is nothing to do with red light
So
district.
quickly, go, Russell. You rebut, and then Pete can unbutt or something.
Yeah. No, don't worry about it. Go, Pete. I don't waste any time. Go for it.
Pete.
So I disagree. So first of all, if you're not subsidising or incentivising EVs, where's the money going? So we already know that we subsidise, not incentivise, we subsidise fossil fuels. You can't even compare how much I mean, it's orders and orders of magnitude more.
Pete, pause for a sec, Russell. How many? $22,000 a minute?
22,000 Australian dollars per minute in oil and gas subsidies in Australia, around the clock, 24/7. So it's if you were to take that money and stop it immediately and invest it in actually, I've got a graph I prepared for this same conversation a couple of weeks ago.
Now, before you do that, before you do that, before you do that, let Pete finish his argument. I just wanted to get the exact metric, which is $22,000 per minute, which is a shit ton of money. So go, Pete.
The way I understand that metric, I don't know if this works out, but for a 2 taxpayer family, over 10 years, the amount of your taxes that go towards subsidising fossil fuel industries, mainly coal and gas and oil, adds up to almost the cost of a new Model 3. So it's about $60,000, a little over $60,000. So, and that's subsidies. So, you know, to be saying that we don't need to be subsidising EVs, well, if we don't need to be subsidising EVs, then surely we don't need to be subsidising gas, oil, and coal. But but that's one thing. But what we need to do is you need to think of this in terms of a time frame. So yes, absolutely, we can't. Even if we had more demand, we just can't get the cars into WA or anywhere in the world at present. But we need to be looking 2 and 3 years ahead. And once the shortages, once the bottlenecks have been resolved, and you know, Tesla's going to be, you know, increasing their production by 60 to 80% a year. All the other manufacturers are coming online. There will be a point when, you know, when there will be the supply to meet at least some of the demand. But we shouldn't be saying we don't need subsidies because it's going to happen itself. Yes, it will happen itself at a certain rate, but what do we want? Do we want EVs to go up at a certain rate and just say, are we happy with that rate of growth? Or do we want EV adoption to be as fast as is possible? So
like Norway.
Absolutely. So, I mean, and that's Tesla's whole mission, is to accelerate the transition. So yes, EVs, you know, there's no going back. No. Yes, the whole world's going to EVs, but the question is not whether we're going to EVs, it's whether the pace is fast enough. And you know, and if you want the pace to be faster, you need the incentives so that the capital markets can see the demand there, so they can feel comfortable about investing in the supply.
Or can we simply, on an economic basis, stop subsidising the externalities, or sorry, measure the externalities and have a level playing field, and simply say no one gets a subsidy whatsoever?
Absolutely.
That would mean, as Russell has said, $22,000 per minute ought to be withheld, and imagine the budget surplus that would generate.
Oh,
If the Australian
and
government could
NDIS, funding the NDIS, no worries, we could
Yeah,
fund it.
absolutely.
I
There you
suppose
go.
there wouldn't be any issues. Now, the problem is though, that's not politically feasible. So, it's not politically feasible
Doesn't
to
buy votes.
Australia under current conditions.
Right.
It's not politically feasible to take away overnight all the incentives and subsidies to the fossil fuel industry. What is politically feasible and palatable though is to incentivize EVs and clean technology, and then slowly start to ease off the subsidies to fossil fuels, and then ease off and eventually get to a let the market decide. Let it just be a level playing field. Like in solar, we've been saying this for over a decade. We said we don't need any subsidies. Just make it a level playing field. Stop subsidizing gas and coal, and solar will romp it in. But like it's not.
What about people's mental health, Pete? If they buy, a Kona or something else, what about their mental health when they should have bought a Tesla? Where's the environment right now? Like, we should be thinking about the environment as, I'm looking for my seal pup fur boots right now. So I think it's important, the environment that we're doing with Tesla. So just sort of add
Do you know what I found interesting is motorbiking to work every day now is, my God, traffic stinks. I hadn't realised before.
He's got a graph.
Choking on the
Russell's got a graph on
every
the
day
traffic.
now.
Yeah, I do.
Russell, get the graph out.
What the hell?
Well, the statement I had before around, this was a couple of, on Pete's point as well, they're subsidising oil and gas, but one thing they have taxed in Australia, which has been marketed as sense and is now acceptable, is tax on tobacco and tax on alcohol to a lesser degree. That's been socially accepted now because the government decided to say, you know what, we don't want to accept this anymore and we want to make a bit of money. And they made the money off taxing tobacco, and people like, I'm on the side of like the government on this one because I hate big tobacco because the advertising and whatever.
Yeah.
It wouldn't take much to change public opinion through government messaging to make EV. So when I drive down the street, I don't get people.
It's a hard one. It's a hard one. There's a lot of people that don't like EVs. They just
unfortunately
and they remind me of like young Damon. That not Damien, young Damon, the guy. Damo, yeah.
I've got an update if you like.
He wasn't anti-EV, but he bought an EV and now he loves it, and he drag races it, and he loves it.
There's an update for that, Jared. He's selling it, so don't get too ahead of yourself there.
Oh, what's the update? He's selling it.
Yeah.
What, did you get a graph or something?
We'll have to go.
All right, welcome back. So I'm just going to spotlight Damon because I think he wants to show me something. What could this possibly be? What's this guy here? What the hell is happening?
It's a bad job. Oh, fucking Jesus. Who did that?
Oh dear.
And I gave it a little slap. And
You
now
pay
I've
all
bent
this
the
money
aluminium.
for a cone, it does that.
Where was that, Harold?
That was at Riverton Shops. That was my car.
Yeah.
Can you replay that, Damon?
Yeah, it's starting again right now.
It's going to start again. It's on your
Guys?
How do I stop it?
No, seriously, how do you stop that happening?
Well, it's
I
not supposed to
can't.
do it. It's only supposed to open a little bit if it senses something next to it.
So the main story is I can't stop it, and it has done the same thing to my wife's Model S probably about, I don't want to exaggerate, 800 times probably.
So it's a design fault.
No, it's just I don't know what's going on.
Mine doesn't do
Are we
it.
on record? We're on record.
Yeah, we are on record.
good.
I think because my car's done 13 years worth of driving, it's behaving like a 13-year-old car basically.
Actually, Harold, I've realised I've got a dent on the side of my car as well.
Yeah, was he parked next to you?
Actually, it's done the best part of 14 or 15 years of driving, but
2,000 dents and other cars.
I've got one on my front bumper as well.
Panel beaters.
I did that too, Russell. Yeah, it's all my fault.
So I'm pretty sure it uses the ultrasonic sensors from the Falcon Wing doors, because mine doesn't. Mine will only crack the front door if there's sense of something is there.
Yep, I think that the fault is actually it sort of flings the front door open as it does the self-presenting door, but then it's supposed to then sort of pull back to stop it from continuing to open. And I think sometimes that pullback action, however that's done, fails and it just doesn't.
Has anyone had that car alarm thing go off and get a notification?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Oh, you have? Oh, good.
No, I haven't.
Mine does it when I come home and I pop the boot open, tell the kids to get their school bags out of the boot, and of course they don't, and they just leave the car with the boot open. And if it remains open for an extended period of time, something seems to set the alarm off in the boot. And not only does the alarm go off, but the radio goes nuts. So yeah, really deep bass. Yeah, it's supposed to try and.
If it's just sentry mode, I don't get a message. But if it's if the door's left open or the window's left open or the alarm goes off, then it will message me.
Yeah, the alarm. It was the alarm going off. This guy got changed in front of my car. He was just putting a new shirt on.
Hey Pete, have you got your car set to automatically lock when you're at home?
I do.
Oh, I don't.
Yeah,
maybe because my car, I've had my doors open, but my car's not set to lock at home, and maybe it knows because it's home, it doesn't want to do it. But maybe,
So I've got mine to automatically lock at home, but if I leave the door open, it will, after 15, 20 minutes, it will give me a message saying I've left the door open, but it won't turn the alarm on in the car because the door's open.
Yeah, my car does that too.
So I won't turn the alarm on unless all the doors are closed.
It says you're a dickhead, you left your door open.
Yeah.
All I know now is that when I shut the app down, it doesn't keep saying to me, turn the app on.
Mine does.
Mine doesn't anymore. Since I upgraded it, it stopped saying the app should be running, some shit about the app, keep the app on or some shit. So, interesting.
Yeah, right. Okay, well, something that no one has, I don't think anyone here has seen before is, I'll just change my camera.
Is that Pete not shaved?
To this.
I think has he lost a little bit of hair, Pete?
He's got it.
You've trimmed a little bit off, haven't you?
it's
a little trim down.
I had a fight with the lawnmower.
A little trim.
Anyway, back to Harold. Go on.
All right, so I'll just spotlight this momentarily. So
is that somebody's ex-girlfriend? Oh, sorry.
This is a part.
It's a heart.
A part that has left my car, and the other part of it.
Yeah.
Looks like this.
It's a charger.
That wasn't in Saguna, was it, Harold? Where that girl with
this was actually.
You thought it was a bloke?
You've surpassed.
So, as you can see, that these are actually the charging pins, which in my car and Damon's as well it's only these pins. We don't have the CCS inlet. So basically.
As long as you touch them with your fingers, do you get electrocuted or anything? Or
no, because it's all been turned off.
That sounds like a segue.
Actually,
yeah. Here we go. It's champagne tonight.
I put my finger in there, and it got shortened.
Like one of the pins is shorter.
Like last week in Nam and the week before on the fire department.
It's just like see this pin is short. Yeah. See, there's a long pin and there's a short pin, right? And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then there's these two others.
Well, we're never going to know the real story of the finger.
That far right pin is shorter as well.
That airline hostess bit it off. I still believe that story. That was a good story. I still believe that one. But
Jared, I'm just too much of a gentleman to admit the real story. It's just,
well, you're just waiting for for Russell's graph.
Exactly. So I'm just going to remove spotlight and go back to normal view.
How are you going to fix it?
So that comes out when you need to re-gold plate the conductors.
Yeah, it's actually what actually happened was as you know, the charging port is on the left-hand side, and I park my car. My wife and I both back our cars in to the carport, and my car's on the left, and the charger is on the right. So the Type 2 charging cord was dangling beneath my wife's car, beneath my car at the back, and into the charging port. And then as my wife drove off, the cable must have caught under, well, she hasn't got a mud flap, but under her wheel arch or something. And basically, as she drove off, it pulled the charging cable and my charger attached to three-phase cable and the Type 2 cable and pulled it forward. And effectively, somehow the port, the charge cable pulled out and then whipped back and took this with it. So this is a part of the car that's now left the car. And there's a little bit of, I don't know if you can actually see it properly, if I get the right angle of light. It's broken a bit of the plastic just here. So when you actually, I can actually still perfectly plug the Type 2 cable into here, no problems, because these pins are really strong. And they're quite, yeah, they're very robust. So I can still use the car.
Again though, once if she drives off with the cable again, what would happen then?
And you're really stuck.
You see, what happens when you're plugged in? You can't drive off, can you, when you're plugged in, Errol?
No, you can't, because
Car knows it's plugged in.
you can't. Not sure if it's this bit here or if it's up the top inside. You can't see it, but you actually, when you look at your UMC or any Type 2 cable, there are three cutouts.
Yeah, keys.
There's actually sort of one on the left side, the right side, and I think the top. And they actually have like a solenoid with a plastic little latch that grabs the cable. So when you actually actively connected to the charger, it stops someone from just unplugging you.
Well, that Model 3s have got a single drop pin.
Yes, well, and so do the S's and X's, but all EVs, they've got an option of 3 different positions where that pin can be, because old Type 2 or CCS plugs have 3 receptacles for a pin to grab that plug. So the plug is always mated to the car while it's being actively charged.
So is that into that piece that's in your hand? No.
No, this piece is just the shield that surrounds these pins.
Can you glue it back in?
Yeah, I think I can. So I think you can see here that looks like a little bit of something's a bit loose there.
Might be able to get that out.
Yeah, probably get that out. But I think all of this is sort of separable, but I can probably just glue this piece back in, and then it'll be fine. It doesn't.
Well, you're
actually
half
do anything
dismantling
structural.
it, so you can put a CCS2 connector in there. You're halfway there.
Yeah, that's
continue
right.
Dismantling it for a CCS2.
Yeah, do it
Exactly.
tomorrow. Just
Exactly.
tomorrow. Get a bit of cable and a bit of araldite, you'll be done, mate. Get CCS2 in there, no problems.
Yeah, exactly. Why not? Just
Yeah, you've got plenty of cables that have got that fitting on it. Just cut one off and yeah.
I'll
make
get
good.
the Dremel. I'll get the Dremel out, and it'll all be good.
That's
Now,
what I did.
now, before we go, I've got a couple of things I was supposed to do earlier.
I've got a question as well. One more question, a quick one.
Yeah, cool. Well, I'm just going to quickly do this, and this is sort of, I don't even know how to describe this. This is just absolutely stupid, and for some reason it's not loading. Why is that not loading? Come on, interwebs. We'll try it again, unless it's, oh yes, it has loaded. Awesome. Okay, so I don't know how many people have seen this. Just going to try and increase its size a little bit. Here we go.
Oh yeah, send this, yeah.
Oh dear. So the plane wasn't on autopilot, but the car was.
Oops,
That was
sorry,
100% summon in summon mode, and it's below the sensors and all that. So went straight under the fuselage and the roof hit.
So that is a classic example of an ID10T error.
No graph for that, Russell?
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right there in the middle of my screen at the moment, drinking a Coke.
ID
So
10.
an ID10T error. You know, why would you do a smart summon on a airport curtain or whatever you call it?
I can explain that. Obviously, there was a couple of hot chicks around, and the pilot was using his co-pilot, which is his, and he was trying to impress these hot girls, and that happened. We've all made that mistake.
So the Tesla haters are going to go, oh, see, summon is a stupid feature, and it's like, well, it was never intended to be driven on an airport
Correct.
Curtain,
Correct.
and it was never intended to avoid random aeroplanes in its way. That have a double color. Like you got overcast. It's wet. The sun is probably to the left, so it's looking towards like a bright horizon with this white part of the aeroplane that probably looks similar to these front lit clouds, backlit clouds. It's just stupidity.
Should have bought a Kona.
Well, the fuselage is above the sensor height.
It would never happen if you bought a Kona.
It's just the perfect epitome of, if you're an idiot, you can cause something bad to happen.
I mean, all the guy had to do was
look at Russia right now. Look at
Go, Pete.
All he had to do is lift his finger off the phone when he could see, and the car stops pretty much right on the spot. So
could be a bit of a stunt.
Yeah, I reckon he was just trying to see if he would stop, and it obviously didn't. So
is that the same guy that was in LA doing the jumps in the Model S they hired? Could be the same.
Soon, Russell, what was your question? Then I'm off to bed, mate.
Okay, my question is, when I get into my car, my mobile phone just unlocks the car, right? You press the handle and it just pops open straight away. But when I try to remove my HVW, like the Tesla wall-connected charger thing, when I press the button on top, it doesn't actually know that I'm there, and it thinks I'm not connected to the car. So I've got to pop the back door, and once the back door's popped, it then lets you undo. So how come the back door recognizes I'm there, but the charger doesn't?
It wakes the car up, mate.
Car's asleep.
Yeah, I had the same issue, Russell, and I thought that So Harold told me, he said, you can, you don't have to use the app to unlock the charger. You can just hold down the button.
Yeah.
And I never knew that you could do that because it never worked with mine.
Yeah, just press it about 4 seconds. Press it a long time, and it wakes the car up. Then
you hold it down.
But there's a solution now,
press
Russell.
it 4 seconds and it'll unlock. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but in the new app, so if you download the new app, and if you've got the new software, which is 12.3.1, it doesn't need to wake up the car anymore to get the data from it.
Okay.
So that might fix it. So I haven't tried it yet. I only downloaded it this morning, but I haven't tried it yet. But I'm gonna, next opportunity I get, I'm gonna try and sneak up on the car and don't do anything on the app and just hold down the data and see.
What you should do, Pete, do it now, later tonight. Sneak up on the car and see if it works. And if the alarm goes off and wakes the whole house up, let's see how that works for you. Let's see.
Russell,
you can show us a graph of what your wife and kids said when you woke them up with the alarm going off at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Russell, is your car locked in your garage or is it not locked? Russell,
my car is not locked in the garage.
Yeah, mine isn't either. So yeah, you go up, nothing happens. Just keep your finger on the button and be patient, and it'll open.
I just keep clicking it and it doesn't do anything. I'm like,
don't click it. Just hold it down. Hold it
down.
Yeah, but it's quicker just to press the door instead.
I know, but it's
Faster.
just hold the finger down. It's just fucking
It's a
away.
first world problem. Good night, everyone.
Oh,
Good night, Richard.
see, Richard, you're retired. You can just sleep in tomorrow. You got all day.
Golf. I'm getting up at 5:15. Goodbye.
Oh, that's just ridiculous.
Also, what you need to do is buy the key fob, and then you got the fob. You press the button on the fob.
Yeah, that's true. And chicks
so-
love the fob, Russell. Love it. They just go,
They
oh,
like pressing the buttons on it.
that guy's got a fob. I'm going to him. You know?
It's bad enough having to remember to take my phone out to the garage to do it, because if the car's in the garage, I want to unplug it, I'll go there and I'll have my phone, go all back inside again and grab it. It's a pain in the ass.
Harold, he really got us tonight. We're going to fucking fix him, I tell you. He really got us.
We haven't talked in depth about Tesla stock price today, have we?
I know. So I was just
Yeah,
about
we-
to do that, and it's
we-
sort of recovering a little bit. Why is that not working?
So there's
Here we go.
there's a couple of
Jesus, dropped a bit,
reasons that
Harold.
the price
Not-
took a dump yesterday.
So,
One,
sorry, say that again, Damon.
there could be two possibilities that I could see that took a big dive yesterday. First one is because Elon sold a bunch more stock, and the second one, all these Twitter employees selling their Tesla stock because they don't want to work for Twitter anymore because they're afraid of free speech.
Well, maybe they sold their Tesla stock to buy Twitter stock.
Yeah. Fucking geniuses, eh? God. Fucking genius.
So I don't know if you were here at the start, Damon, but in the news.
Yeah, I was here at the start this time.
Yeah. So
yeah, you did mention it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mentioned that that I'll just reread it. Tesla shares have suffered their $126 billion were lost, right? And that's the second largest dollar or value market cap loss in history for Tesla. And the biggest was $144 billion on the 9th of November last year. So last year's one coincided with Elon Musk commencing his share disposal to get his CEO Performance Award options that he he wished to exercise. So the thing is, I think as Twitter had announced, Elon Musk has got a single entity that is going to buy all of Twitter. But Elon is likely to have a 51% stake in this entity, personal stake. And I had seen, courtesy of Rob Maurer of Tesla Daily, that he was getting financing, but there were some interesting terms, like there were margin calls at certain prices or
40% drop.
Well, the big killer was the 40% drop. So when Musk gets this finance, whenever that is, and that could be as late as October this year, because I think it was some day in October when this deal had to be closed for Twitter. So when the news agencies say Elon Musk has now owns Twitter, well, he doesn't. He doesn't own it until it's consummated, and that's up to October this year. But there's a clause in his financing whereby if Tesla's share price falls by 40%, that's a automatic repayment triggering.
Essentially a margin call.
No, it's not. No, it's not. There's a separate clause for the margin call, which is a different level. It was
35%.
Was it 35, 25?
35.
35.
Loan to value ratio of 35%.
Yes.
Maybe he's got to get Amber Heard over to do a deposit.
But there was a different there was a different clause, and I'm just going to quickly try and find Rob Maurer's video. But the document said that regardless of all of that, if Tesla's share price from the date the loan was taken out to any time in the future, if it reduces by 40%, that invokes a repayment clause.
Yeah.
And the thing is, Tesla has gone down by 40% many times. I don't
Yeah,
know
but
exactly how many.
I thought
but-
it was only to do with the 40% of the value of the money he's borrowing.
No, this clause actually just stated, regardless. So a margin call is got to do with percentages, and you know, he can just dump more Tesla shares in and say, well, I'm all sweet because I've got
More
$200
equity now,
billion
essentially.
stacked against $21 billion. That's 10%. That, you know, the Tesla share price could fall by 90% and he'd still be just about sweet. But the interesting thing was this loan clause said that if Tesla's share price simply fell by 40%, regardless of quantity, that would trigger a repayment event. So I believe it's quite likely that Elon Musk is selling down some of his Tesla shares so as to provide cash liquidity for his $21 billion worth of Twitter. Not the whole 21 billion, but some proportion of it, so that he can reduce the severity of this this clause or the risk.
Which then you have to sell a bunch more to pay for the tax for that.
In a very quick period of time, you know. So Tesla is probably undergoing now what it did back in the 9th of November. So with thanks to Rob Mauer, I recall on the 8th of November he sold about 1 million shares, and on the 9th of November, which was Tesla's biggest fall, he sold 3.8 million shares. And I think the day later he sold 500,000 shares, roughly, just from memory. So, I mean, the other thing too is we don't know when he's going to get this loan. You know, he could also be acting in his own interests and thinking that, well, if I sell down some shares to get some liquidity, if I suppress the share price a bit and then get the loan, of course, 40% of $800 is a lot safer than 40% of $1,000 reduction, if you know what I mean. And we got the this share price event. There you go. Sorry, go back.
But it's 40%.
Or whoever it was, sorry.
From the
there we
share
go.
price on the funding date. So it's not 40%.
That's right. So whenever that, oh, thanks, Pete. That's awesome. And this is thanks to Rob Mauer's Tesla Daily. So yeah, if the volume weighted average price of shares on the exchange on any day is below 40% of its official closing price on the funding date of the debt that Elon Musk uses to put in his $21 billion worth of equity into Twitter. And that's irrelevant. That's got nothing to do with a margin call. This is a mandatory repayment event. So that's quite a severe clause.
So in essence, what you're saying is he's trying to reduce the possibility of that by happening by having a share price lower on the execution date. So
I don't think so. But it obviously works in his favour. But I think he is actually selling down, and we won't know this until
probably a week away or something.
No, it's only 2 days, I think.
Okay.
I think when a major shareholder like him sells down, I think he's got 48 hours or 2 business days, whatever it is. So we'll find out in the next day or two whether Elon has sold down some of his shares, which could explain the huge fall we've had last night. Oh, sorry, this morning.
But what you're saying, Russell, it's on the funding date. So it's from the funding date, and the funding date won't be for a long time still. So
some of the news headlines are quite funny. It was like the Guardian's Tesla shareholders forgotten. Forbes Tesla stock plunge 114 billion in value as Twitter deal sparks fear, and a whole bunch more very similar to like that. But the AFR, Elon trades Tesla caviar for Twitter pizza.
the irony is, I mean, this is only a personal opinion, Elon Musk obviously regards Tesla as being a highly influential social media vehicle. But Twitter, sorry. But it's the 15th largest social media site. 15th biggest.
Right now would be the time to buy Tesla stock anyway. With the looming
just be
Tesla,
careful
the
what you
split.
game on. You can't really say that on YouTube anymore.
What? You can't do that?
Not on YouTube. No, you can get a $50,000 fine.
When you play the disclaimer, Harold.
Yeah, absolutely.
The following segment is general in nature and shouldn't be taken as personal professional advice. Listeners should seek their own independent assessment from a qualified advisor and not rely on the general nature of information in this program.
So don't be a
Super Trooper.
and listen to any of our advice. But that's
definitely
right,
not.
because we're a finfluencer. We are finfluencers, and
I still reckon you should get Amber Heard in there to put a deposit. I just drop a little deposit in. Johnny Zepp said that she dropped many deposits in his bed.
Even with a disclaimer, you still can't recommend to do anything, even with a disclaimer.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's true.
So
yeah,
I want to say to you now, Russell, from me and Harold, we just want to say, fuck you for the disclaimer. Fuck you for tonight. You got us so good, I tell you. I'm fucking going to have to kick on something really good to get you back from that one. I'm going to have to fucking spend nights not sleeping thinking about something for you.
Well, the good thing, anyone still listening in or watching back, they'll be asleep at this time of night.
Oh,
yes. Well, I traditionally, and I'm going to have a big shout out to Ashley. Thank you for watching, and look forward to seeing you at a casual meetup.
And
I would ordinarily say thanks for Damon for watching us in half-hour slots, but he's sort of done that in contiguous half-hour slots. And
and Nigel Saunders tonight, he put most of his body in the screen.
So Harold, when I watch back, I watch back at double speed, and it's far easier.
And
but
it's Richard Chapman still away.
Today, when you did your rant at the start, your 20-minute rant, whatever it was, I was so bored.
You mean the news?
I was so bored because I usually listen to your voice at double speed. So do you reckon next week you can do double speed on the news, and then we can get it over and done with? And
Richard Chapman's still in bed. He's in bed. That's so good. You can always get Richard Chapman. Oh, it's fucking hilarious. You're a funny man, I tell you, Richard. Fucking love you. Love you.
Are you wearing any pants?
Yeah, he's no pants. Oh, no pants in bed. He sleeps in the nudie. Oh, the nudie boy. Oh yeah, no pajamas. He likes it fresh, say Richard. Fresh. He's just done a Dutch oven. Bastard.
Tesla has roundly. Oh. So you want me to be at double speed, Russell?
Yeah, because then at least I don't get as bored.
No, Harold's worked very hard on his media voice.
And then when I watch it back, if I watch it back the week after, I can watch it at 4 times speed, which would be even better.
Where were you last week, Russell, when we needed you? Last week was very quiet. Where were you?
I think I was working actually. I was up on my computer, but I was so busy I couldn't log in because I was trying to get some proposals out and stuff. I was just flat out.
It's so disappointing.
Sorry,
I know
mate.
that Pete misses it because he's fucking all his graphs go out the window when you come on board. He was pulling out more graphs and you got fucking pie charts than Pete's got. Pete's got a few pie charts though. Don't worry. Who gave Pete a plug last week, Harold? Pete got on somebody's website last week.
Electric Viking.
Yeah, Electric Viking. There you go. Hey, put that in your fucking Electric Viking. Yeah. Pete's work. Electric Viking stole it. No royalty checks, no nothing.
No. I'm all for it. That's awesome.
Yeah, but we would take a royalty check. We would take $500,000. Just drop $500,000 into Pete's account. Drop it into my account. I'll make sure Pete gets ahead of the curve by giving me money to give to Pete. No problems at all. You give whatever you want to give. The back of the curve, that's me. and I'll pass it to the head of the curve. Okay? So, or I'll put it into the T junction account, which goes to Harold and me, and a little bit to Pete. So we like the T junction account. That's a good one.
I thought you'd want to stick your head in the curve, Jared.
Mate, I can't. I just stand back and watch you geniuses with your fucking graphs and stuff. You guys just know what you're doing. I just listen every week and learn something and go, amazing.
So, Russell, you reckon next week I should be more like this? Alrighty, welcome to episode 88 of Talk With Us Ask Us Anything. As usual, it's been a pretty busy news week. Elon Musk has offered to purchase the entirety of Twitter for US $54.20 per share, totaling $43 billion. In his letter to Brett Taylor, chairman of Twitter's board, Musk wrote,
Sounds pretty good, actually.
I believe in its
Try
potential to
that.
be the platform for free speech.
So the reason why is because I listen to all my YouTube at double speed because I haven't got time for waiting around. And I've now developed my senses so I can listen at double speed. And when someone talks normal, I can't understand them anymore. It's too slow. I need that like rapid fire information.
Why am I getting this vision, Russell, of you coming home from work and the wife coming to you going, darling, I'm feeling it tonight, and you pull out this graph and going, look, darling, you look at the percentage now, and now it's a Tuesday night to a Monday night. The percentage is not there tonight. I can see it now. You pulling out more and more graphs all the time. You know? Are we thinking about having another child? Let's have a look at another graph. Percentage now with the child is going to cost too much money. Put that over for square root that over. I can see you doing that.
Actually, when you finish doing that, Harold,
he's got a graph. Hang on, wait for it. It's got a graph.
No, just quickly go on. Just for 1 sec.
Oh, hang on.
Oh, you're going to tell us a story now that you weren't going to tell us before.
No, I won't. It's something different.
I'm offering to buy one.
Oh, fucking Harold, get in the program. What are you doing? Fucking hell.
And we're back. So welcome back to everyone that wasn't with us live. Sorry, Damon, did you mention Starlink?
Yeah. Last time we spoke, I was still waiting for my Starlink to get in town. Well, yeah, in early March, service area for Pemberton came online, and which you've seen on the map. You've shown it last few weeks or something like that. So yeah, it's all operating down at my parents' place in Pemberton. It's all good.
Fantastic. That's awesome because Pemberton just happens to be just in the zone.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry,
so they've
just
got
happens to be in the zone where there is coverage. End, is that right? You've got a separable cable.
The adapter goes in line between the cable and the router.
No, sorry. What I mean is, with the round dish, you've got I forget if it's 30-meter cable or something like that.
It's 30 meters.
Yeah, 30-meter cable attached directly to the dish. But I think on the square dish or rectangular dish, you can actually unplug it from the dish end. So if you wanted to get through a penetration through the roof or whatever, it's easier to do.
Do you have to spec that done? You have to actually say I want the square one?
No, I think it's
well,
now.
Yeah, it's whatever you got. I think everyone's getting squares, rectangle ones now, because it was a week before I got mine sent out. One of my work colleagues got the round dish, and I got a square. I was fully expecting to get a round one, and I got the rectangle. Yeah. So then, as soon as I found out I got the rectangle, then I ordered the adapter for it. So then I could get the TV set up for Netflix.
Cool. Sweet.
Awesome. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, so the last item of news that I had that wasn't, well, I didn't put it in the news, was it was interesting to see that obviously Tesla has intentions of getting into India, and the Indian government or a minister, Indian minister, has basically specifically said that Tesla ought not to import cars into India from China, which was a very interesting sort of thing to say. So
I believe Tesla might be interested in the rug market, the Fakari rug, one of India's famous rugs.
It was sort of...
It's the Indian scheme to try and get Tesla to make a factory there.
Yeah, that's exactly what they want.
Yeah, exactly. But the problem is India needs to accept that Tesla needs to demonstrate for its own purposes that there's an adequate market for what is not a cheap car at this stage.
It's no papadum.
So it's sort of like...
What have the sales been like in India?
Well, there are none
You
because
can't buy
there
them.
haven't been any.
you can't buy a direct sold car.
Well,
You
that's
might be able
the
to buy a
issue
grey
then, isn't it?
import. Well, yeah. So India basically wants Tesla to build a gigafactory on spec without establishing that there's an adequate demand for that sort of product.
Well, that's not going to
I
happen.
don't think they have the middle wealthy, wealthy people like China does, like the
Yeah, what's that called?
you got the low, the middle, and the high. And like China's got a very
middle
big
class.
popular
Yeah,
middle
the
class.
large middle class.
You've got a
Yes.
much higher class of
So
oxygen.
I think India's still got too much lower class citizens that still. So
Riding on top of the train.
and then you
Yeah,
got the
they
ultra
haven't-
rich there.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. So it's a hard sell because India is basically asking Tesla to just build a factory and
Yeah,
trust
$5
that
billion.
it'll be economically viable with zero prior experience in that market, which is a pretty big ask. It's pretty late here now. It's nearly
What's the
12:30. Oh no, the record's
1:30
hours, and
with,
no, this is
Russell.
not a record one because we've had long sessions, Damon, of not being recorded. So which you've actually directly now for the first time experienced.
Yeah.
And I dare say now you're hooked. So welcome back to next week.
Yeah, see you next week, mate.
Expect to see another
now-
wrap by next week as well, if you could.
Russ, I want to see
Oh
Grant
yes,
next
Yeah, what
week.
colour you want?
Yes.
Blue?
And
Green?
yeah. And the
Well,
14th,
just
can I remind everyone about the 14th? You gonna be there, Russell?
What's happening on the 14th?
Oh, Russell, it's
Oh, that's the track day, but
No,
that'll
I'm
be.
not going on the track day. It's
No,
not.
but you can
it's
just come along. You come, it's a meet and greet.
Oh well, actually,
welcome.
well, the track day will be a casual meetup as well. So
Exactly,
which will be
casual
totally
meetup.
free, of course.
Yeah,
So
casual
that'll
meetup.
be a casual meetup.
You've got that handbrake question that you need to ask.
Yeah.
I'll just do that here on my street. That's not a problem. I haven't need to go track to that.
Exactly. Now it's time to wrap this show up because it's gone long enough. So
yeah.
Speak to sleep.
Pete,
Thanks
how
for going to sleep.
would you traditionally wrap this show up?
Go to bed, you fuckers.
As always, stay safe, stay sustainable, stay ahead of the curve.
Yeah, of course.
All right, and the best way to do that is
And free
buy
Ben
a
C. Free Ben C.
The best way to do that is buy a Tesla,
Yeah.
join Tokwa, and ask us anything about accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy.
100%.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Have a
Nice
greek
work.
week. See
night,
you next
guys.
week and ask
Bye.
us anything.
See ya.
See you guys.